Pirate's Most Powerful Villain, Chapter 361-380. Chapter 0361-Destroy the Marine Headquarters 2. The real power, you have never seen it. Qinyang looked at the magma tornado in front of him and laughed. These words are indeed not deceiving. When the main body reaches a 6-star level, the transformation that will be opened in the future will become more and more terrifying. At this moment, in the hurricane, 3 of the 6 applicants immediately tore their bodies, and the blood was mixed in the gust of wind and scattered everywhere. The rest of the people were also torn apart by the hurricane and could not escape for the time being. Only Garp, relying on his powerful armament Haki, can block the invasion of wind. The wind and waves are like knives, scraping people's blood and bones. Look, your headquarters will soon be turned into ruins. Qinyang stood under the hurricane, as if walking on the ground. All the wind and waves would be reflected the moment they touched him. Damn it, gotta figure something out. The Shichibukai 6 are in a depressed mood. They have suffered a disaster. If they knew that the members of the dream would appear, they would not come. Doflamingo's face was even more ugly. He knew early on that Accelerator had a dominant level combat power, but he didn't expect it to be so terrifying. Even if the combat power is terrifying, the problem is that he is involved. Accelerator, Your Excellency Commissioner. My own. Relax, I can't die for the time being. Qinyang glanced at Doflamingo and said calmly, I still have something to ask, I won't let you die easily. As soon as the voice fell, a huge tornado mixed with magma and blood slowly moved towards the headquarters building. It only takes a quarter of an hour to reach a distance of 3 kilometers. At that time, the entire marine building will be torn apart and turned into a pile of rubble and ruins. Bastard! Tianyan, Vio's face was pale, and the paintings on his face were blown away by the wind, and the whole face looked colorful, like a clown. This is just a special commissioner. What kind of monster organization is Dream? When he went to sea, the dream had disappeared. It can be said that he was the first person who really saw the dream. Previously, I had learned about the existence of dreams from past rumors and records. I thought the rumors were exaggerated, but now it seems that it is simply underestimated. Thinking of this, he roared while resisting the wind attack. Hawkeye, don't you cut the tornado open. Do you want to die together? Hearing this, Hawkeye clenched the right arm of the black knife and raised it with great effort, but he was unable to swing a slash. My practice is really insufficient. In the face of this situation, it is very difficult to even wield a knife. Hawkeye's face was cold, and in this environment, he was still comprehending his own swordsmanship. It should be possible, if not if you can move the blade, hit a slash. In a critical moment, he seems to be one with his beloved sword. The man is the sword, and the sword is the man. The world seemed to be extremely quiet all of a sudden, and all the riots could not interfere with his consciousness. In the end, his essence, chi, spirit, skill, and strength reached a perfect state, and a slash shot out of the sword sound from the big sword. Is greater than or equal to. Tilde. Whoosh. J black and red slashes, like sharp thorns, suddenly shoot W. Vio looked happy, but the next moment, his expression froze. This can be called a stroke of genius. After walking 3 meters in the hurricane, he was directly strangled and turned into nothingness. Ah! Hawkeye was stunned, and his heart was silent. Sure enough, the wind is too strong. Who will think of a way? Vio was in a hurry and looked at the bear sharply. Your fleshy fruits, can bounce together and scatter this hurricane. This, Bartholomew Shang didn't look at him, and his whole body kept turning in circles with the tornado. If he could have done it, he would have done it already. Doflamingo sneered, it's useless, no one can escape now. Damn, I really want to swallow these annoying tornadoes in one bite. Hino gritted his teeth, and there were many wounds on his body, all of which were scraped by the wind blade. The skin was cracked, and the blood that flowed out would be blown away by the wind in the next moment. As for Hexia Jinbei, there is no resistance. When the 6 Shichibukai had nothing to do, the scene was deadlocked. Everyone was swept up by the hurricane and slowly approached the headquarters building. Soon, when it was less than 300 meters away from the headquarters, the building had begun to collapse. The half of the building nearby had already begun to vibrate, many rubble had been rolled around, the walls were collapsing, and the sailors who had not had time to evacuate were pulled up by themselves and caught in the wind. Under the rolling of the hurricane, without the powerful armament hockey bodyguard, he was directly strangled, and there was no room for resistance. Sengoku, the building of justice is starting to crumble, what do you want to say? Chinyang stood outside the tornado, in the chaos, but where he was, it was quiet and peaceful, as if nothing had happened. You bastard! Sengoku was so angry that he couldn't break free. What the hell are you trying to do? If you just want to destroy the headquarters, you can do it. At this point, he had to admit that any new face that appeared in the dream had a desperate fighting power. Such a powerful organization is not something that can be confronted by some means. World conscription doesn't make much sense, subsonic sniper rifles have no effect, and even the pacifist army that is developing close to completion is afraid that it will be turned into a pile of scrap metal by the opponent. Dream, an organization, has reached a level that even the four emperors can't compete with. The only thing that has a chance of winning is the ancient weapon, only the national treasure of Tenryubito. He. As if he understood the fear in Sengoku's eyes, Chinyang let out a low laugh. Now, I'll give you a chance. If you don't want the building that symbolizes justice to turn into a pile of rubble, answer my question properly. You ask. Sengoku clenched his fists, resentful. If eyes could kill, Chinyang would have died many times. The origin of the world, do you know what it is? What? Chinyang was neither hurried nor slow. Anyway, it was not him who was in a hurry, so he said slowly, according to my speculation, the so-called origin of the world should be the fundamental source of the mysterious power of a world. And the mystery of this world is the devil. The fruit is gone, trace it back. The question becomes, how did the devil fruit come into being? For this question, Sengoku was silent for a long time. I don't know. In the recorded history, the devil fruit has already been born. It is the secret treasure of the sea. According to legend, it was a fruit that floated from the sea at first. Is there a tree that bears fruit called devil fruit? Chinyang asked again. No, Sengoku snorted. If there is such a thing, do you think the world government will let it exist? It's already under control. This is also true. If there is really a devil fruit tree, even if the world government cannot obtain it, it will block that place. That's a pity. Since you don't know anything, the marine headquarters should be destroyed. Chinyang shook his head, his eyes playful. The hurricane won't stop until you answer 1.2 that satisfies me. Wait. Sengoku narrowed his pupils and shouted, if you want to trace the source of the fruit, you can go to the deep sea to explore. 90% of this world is ocean, and there is absolutely no devil fruit tree on land. Hearing this, Chinyang was stunned, thought for a moment, then nodded and said, you were right. Since it is called the secret treasure of the sea, it is obviously inseparable from the ocean. However, it is still not enough. Chinyang suddenly issued, his arms crossed his chest. In a minute, the building will be in real ruin. If by then you haven't given me a satisfactory answer, then Marineford can sink too. You're crazy. Sengoku's heart skipped a beat. Headquarters was destroyed, but it could be rebuilt, and the sinking of Marineford was a shame imprinted in history forever, a dark page of the past that could never be erased. Only this matter. You must not do it. This is justice on the bright side of mankind. Chapter-361 Peace. Marineford is justice on the light side of humanity. Sengoku was in the midst of a hurricane, and while resisting the wind blowing, he shouted frantically, this world is full of wars, evil parties are rampant, countries and civilians have fallen into darkness, only this ray of dawn is left, you want even this erase. I'm a member of the evil party you're talking about. Chinyang rolled his eyes. Compared to this, you should think about it carefully. If you have any useful information you can tell me. Damn. Sengoku's eyes were bloodshot, and he hated his own powerlessness. As the Marine Marshal, he was unable to protect the headquarters. If he was 20 years younger, he still had the strength to fight to the death. Although he didn't have the confidence to win the opponent, he broke free from this tornado. But you can still try. Thinking of this, he shouted loudly, "Run! Everyone escapes the building." Marshal Sengoku. In the square in front of the building, the Marine officers and soldiers who escaped gathered together. At this moment, these people raised their heads and looked at Sengoku and others in the hurricane. Marine headquarters, in the history since its establishment, the most serious one, only 20 years ago, Golden Lion broke in alone, had a fierce battle with Sengoku and Garp, and was finally arrested for destroying half of the headquarters. But this time today is different. The top fighting forces of the headquarters are all trapped, and even Shichibukai, CP9 and others have been involved 15 times. The despairing and terrifying combat power is just a dream agent. The world is over. Who the hell can stop them? Did the nightmare of the year come back? Many sailors lost their will to fight and fell into sluggishness and despair. "Wait to die," Doflamingo said. "Sengoku, do you think they can escape? In a few minutes, your headquarters will be gone, the tornado will expand further, and sooner or later will sweep across Marineford. If you don't want to die, you should hurry up. Think about the root cause of the devil fruit." "Shut up." Sengoku scolded and stared at Doflamingo. "You are also a member of Tenryubito, the existence of dreams, sooner or later, will subvert the rule of Tenryubito. You should have been the relationship between the enemy, but now you have become the lackey of dreams." For a lackey, it's really ugly to say, but I have cooperated with Dream from the beginning. What Tenryubito, who cares? Those trash can also rule the world, and the glory of their ancestors has been thrown away by them. Don't be noisy. Suddenly, Garp roared, his face extremely gloomy. His whole body was covered with a layer of hockey armor to resist all the hurricanes. At this moment, Garp turned his head to look at Qin Yang, his expression flashing a little complicated. "Dream, we Marine, the first time we learned about you, was when the Shadow Demon assassinated a Tenryubito. Since then, what you have been pursuing is the devil fruit. Now, you are no longer satisfied with the devil fruit. Want to know the secret of the birth of the devil fruit. What are you going to do? Get this world. You, Monkey D. Garp, you Monkey Yao family are all amazing characters. I have no grudges with you, just a different position. Even I have a cooperative relationship with your son Long. Look at him. For the sake of your face, I will spare your life." Qin Yang said calmly, "There are 30 seconds left. Compared to chatting with me, you don't have much time. Back to my question. What exactly do you want?" Garp took a deep breath and said, "I know some information about devil fruit fans. You answer my question first, and I will tell you." "Really?" Qin Yang raised his eyebrows and immediately said, "You are right, we are indeed not satisfied with devil fruits. There are complicated reasons for this, you don't need to know. But I am not interested in this world. Don't worry about that." Of course, there are still reservations in this statement. Although Qin Yang has no interest in ruling the world, he needs an obedient institution to help him collect mysterious power. However, Garp obviously didn't know, and he believed it for the time being. "Well, you make a promise with me, which is not too binding, but now I can only believe in your dreamlike energy." Garp said heavily, "You dream, and we Marine, inviolate each other. Why, are you qualified to negotiate terms with me now?" Qin Yang Isho said, "I will give you a chance to convince me that I am a special commissioner and have the right to conclude a treaty on behalf of Lord Qin. What you are asking for is just a devil fruit. We just want to protect the peace of this world. In essence, there is no absolute contradiction." Garp's tone was extremely complicated. "From today onwards, we Marine will not comply with all the actions of the world government regarding your dreams, and you, stop today. As for the future, no matter what you do, we Marine will only treat it as a C." Hearing this, Qin Yang was astonished and praised. As expected of a Marine hero, only you are qualified to say this. However, I can't agree. Again, you are not qualified to negotiate terms with me. You can tell what you know, and I may let you off for your own sake, but it's not enough to conclude a treaty. It's a serious matter, and you're not qualified to have an equal-to-peer dialogue with me. Quote. If Qin Yang is a person who only represents Accelerator, it doesn't matter if he agrees. But he is a special commissioner now, and he represents dreams, so no, he will not agree, although this kind of jump, to him, is almost like waste paper. Hearing this, Garp closed his eyes, listening to the sound of the building collapsing and the screams of countless sailors. After a second, he said in a deep voice, "Let me tell you, I don't know much. But it should be useful to you." Pause, he said, "We are a family of D, inheriting the will of D. People who don't know call us God's natural enemy, but it's not really. D means guardian, it's a dream. At least right for us monkeys, that's it. Speaking of which, I'm not interested in hearing about your family heritage." Qin Yang said with a light snort. "Really?" Garp nodded. "Then let's get to the point. The root of the devil fruit you asked for is in Rahudal. On that island, the secrets of the world are buried, not only about the history of 800 years ago. And a big secret treasure." "Garp," Sengoku yelled, "are you crazy?" "I'm not crazy, Sengoku. So far, what if I don't tell him? They won't get the information they want, and sooner or later they will target Rahudal." 087. Garp shook his head, but calmed down instead. He looked at Qin Yang and continued, "I hope that after you get the news you want to know, you can spare the countless soldiers and family members of the headquarters." "Yes, you say." Qin Yang nodded. "One Piece, it is real. He is buried in Lahudal. You have several difficulties in finding it. First, there are 4 red stones. Second, there is a terrible virus on the island, and third, the island itself has consciousness." "Is the island conscious?" Qin Yang was stunned. For similar things, he knew a tree of omniscience. However, that thing is still life, but is it also an island? If you think about it, nothing is impossible. On the Great Route, there are many strange islands, and an island with a certain consciousness cannot be said to not exist. Is there a devil fruit tree on the island? Thinking of this, Qin Yang asked again. There is no such thing as a devil fruit tree. No one knows what is on the island except Roger. But what you want is there. Garp slumped. I've told you what I know, you. Don't worry, I'm not that much interested in reaping your life. Qin Yang grinned Isho and looked sideways at the building. However, the building has disappeared. As far as the eye can see, the originally magnificent headquarters building, together with the word, Justice, engraved on the wall, turned into rubble. What a pity, your marine headquarters has become history. Chapter 0363_big event that shocked the world. It's a pity that your headquarters building has become history. Following Qin Yang's words, linking the sky, the tornado mixed with gravel, clods, and magma gradually subsided. Shichibukai who were trapped, Chi-Chi heaved a sigh of relief. The 6 CP9 people were completely collapsed, and Khalifa showed an expression of being saved. After a long time, the hurricane disappeared. Sengoku lifted his golden Buddha form and looked at the ruined headquarters building, stunned. With a bang, he knelt down in front of the ruins of the building, and the whole person suffered a great blow. Garp came over and patted him on the shoulder without saying a word. The magma in the sky fell, slowly converged, and condensed into the appearance of a kainu. Blind Isho was silent. The stick and sword in his hand were drawn and closed, and he wanted to do it, but in the end he did not choose to draw the sword. That's fine, I can't see it, but I can hear the grief of the entire marine. This is the destruction of the old marine, but justice will not disappear. Only by admitting defeat can we move forward. Marshal Sengoku, there is still a long way to go. Quote. He murmured softly, as if comforting. Sengoku closed his eyes in pain, and in just a few dozen seconds, his black hair instantly turned white. I'm old, first can't lead Marine to defend justice anymore, I'm no longer suitable for this position. He closed his eyes tightly, his tone trembling. Today's gaffe, I will personally report to the world government and take all responsibility. Marshal, countless general and colonel officers whispered. Seeing this scene, Chinyong Vivi Isho said, under this situation, you can take the initiative to take all the responsibilities. Sengoku, you are worthy of being a marshal. Although I don't like you Marine very much, but for you personally, still I appreciate it. In our homeland, there is a famous saying veterans don't die, they just fade away. Saying that, Chinyong glanced at Doflamingo, let's go, goodbye. As soon as the voice fell, he stepped out, and the whole person was like a cannonball, suddenly ejected, and flew away. After flying into the air, 4 small tornadoes appeared behind Chinyong. As the driving force for the flight, in the blink of an eye, he quickly disappeared at a speed comparable to that of a fighter plane. For Marine Headquarters is now in such a tragic state. After the news spreads, the monsters living in the new world will tremble with fear, right? Doflamingo glanced at everyone and let out a low smile. Sengoku, fighting against dreams like me is the stupidest choice, and now this result is the best for you. Furofura ha 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 ha. In the laughter, he followed Chinyang's footsteps and vacated. He left, the rest of Shichibukai and the others also left. Square root Q. They themselves are pirates. How T-Marine has nothing to do with them, insisting that Shichibukai is a subordinate agency of the world government, affiliated agency. 4 inches now it seems that the Empress is still wise, so she didn't come. If I knew earlier, I wouldn't come either. P. Heinel's eyes flashed, and he secretly said in his heart. He recalled the news of the D family that Garp had said before, and snorted with disdain in his heart. D family has branches, and the wills represented by D are also different. At least, the D contained in his name is by no means Guardian and Dream. Dream is coming back strong. The Marine Headquarters building is destroyed. The world will be in an uproar when the news comes out. It seems, I have to find that man. Hope he is still alive. Thinking of this, Heinel's movements became more and more rapid. The rest of the Shichibukai also have their own thoughts, and some people have already given birth to the idea of quitting Shichibukai early. This organization, from its inception, has been useless. Now that the government is dying, it may not be a dream target if it quits early. The one with the strongest thought is Tianyan Vio. He really saw the market today and made up his mind to leave the Shichibukai organization as soon as possible. Jinbei, the sea hero, is worried. The current situation on Fishman Island is very bad. If it is not protected by his Shichibukai title, it will be even worse. Hawkeye was immersed in the enlightenment of Kendo. He saw his own flaws, completely ignored the idea of outside things, and wanted to practice. Only Bartholomew Bear, like a robot, stayed where he was without saying a word. The entire Marine Headquarters was immersed in an atmosphere of pain. Chinyong left Marineford, planning the next move in his heart. There are only 2 messages from Marine. One is in the deep sea. The second is Rahudal. They come from the mouths of Sengoku and Garp respectively, but comparing the 2, Garp should be more accurate. To go to Lahudal, you must first find 4 historical texts of road signs, that is, the red stone. At the beginning, Chinyong was transformed into an archangel and looked down at the whole new world from a high altitude. He couldn't see the situation in the restricted area, let alone where Lahudal was located. In other words, if you want to fly over and search in a carpet style, it is impossible. If he could, Marco the Phoenix would have found the island long ago. You can only find the Scarlet Stone, which should be the fastest. Chinyong thought to himself and recalled the information he knew. First of all, there are a total of 30 historical texts, 9 of which record the historical text, 4 record the road signs, and these 4 are the red stones. As for the stone fruit, one is in the hands of Kaido, the other is in Charlotte Linlin's hands, and the other is in a country called Zhou. As for the last piece, don't ask, it must be in the hands of the world government. The other 3 pieces are not a problem, but the Kaido piece. Qinyang frowned, pondered for a moment, and said to himself, his territory was inherited by the current Beastmaster Ryan. It seems that he still has to face the new fourth emperor. With the road sign, you can find Lahoodle. After that, Qinyang will go to the island to find the mystery of the origin of this world. Only by looking for the source can we absorb it, perfect the illusion world, and finally raise the illusion god to a 6-star level. It's expected to take a while, and hopefully by the time it's done, the time fish has found a new world. Then, first of all, Zoe. A few days later, a big news that shook the world spread throughout the Great Route. The nightmare struck, and the dream pirates, which had disappeared for 9 years, reappeared. Marine headquarters was wiped out, the entire Marineford was in ruins, the port was paralyzed, the forest disappeared, the building collapsed, and it went through an unimaginable battle. The person who shot was not the Fantasy Qin Emperor, but just a special commissioner. Accelerator, who suppressed all of Marine's top combat powers, including Shichibukai, could hardly be an opponent. Of course, in addition to this news, there is another news that is equally shocking. Marine Headquarters Marshal Sengoku resigns, confirms his retirement from Marine. The new marshal candidate will be selected from the 3 current admirals. Marine's older generation hero, Monkey D. Garp applies for an indefinite long vacation, which is the same as retirement but retains his military rank. In a short period of time, the situation inside Marine changed. Chapter-364 Sengoku's Amazing Words. Marine has aroused countless speculations from the outside world. The truth is that this news is too shocking. The marshal retired and left Marine. The heroes of the older generation have an indefinite long vacation, and the great staff Crane also retired from the front line. It can be said that in a short period of time, World Marine, one of the 3 major forces of the Great Route, underwent a major reshuffle. What's the matter? The New World, the Whitebeard Pirates, a group of captains gathered on the deck of the Moby Dick, staring at the newspaper in a daze. On the headline of the newspaper, there was a picture of the original Marine headquarters building in ruins. The broken walls were broken, the earth was broken, and it was a miserable scene. Such a big thing is 10 times more serious than the Golden Lion's riot at the Marine headquarters. But I can't figure out, Sengoku doesn't need to quit Marine even if he takes responsibility. Does the government still imprison him as a veteran of decades? Who knows? Maybe it's because he's tired. If I were him, he didn't want to do it for a long time. With the mountain of dreams pressing down, he couldn't do anything at all. A dozen captains talked to each other, and then all looked at Whitebeard in unison. Compared with 9 years ago, the current Whitebeard is very weak. At this moment, Whitebeard was sitting on a large chair with a hanging bottle in his arm. However, for this reason, he still drank heavily. Jiu la la la. It's been a long time since I heard the news of the dream. How many years? 9 years. Diamond Jozu whispered. 343 inches dad, drink less. It's okay, it's just a little bit of spirits, it won't kill me. Whitebeard reminisced, looked at the ocean, and fell into contemplation. Sengoku, who has been fighting with me all his life, ended up like this. I thought he would die in a certain battle. Speaking of this, he suddenly returned to his senses and asked, how is Ace's situation? He's going after Blackbeard, there's no word yet, but Marco has gone to him, so it shouldn't be a problem. Really? Whitebeard's eyes were gloomy, and then he laughed. Let someone contact the dreamy Emperor Qin. I haven't seen him in 9 years, I want to have a drink with him. Said to have a drink, but in fact, deep down in his heart, there was one thing he had to do before he died. Consolation for the dead 4th Division Captain Thatch. And this may need to resort to fantasy. Back in time, the Holy Land Mariajoy, the top floor of the World Government Building, the Gorosei 5 Elders' office. After a long table, there were 5 chairs, but only 4 people sat. Marshal Sengoku stood in front of the 4 with a peaceful expression. The above is the general situation. In order to protect the hundreds of thousands of Marine officers and soldiers in the headquarters, I will tell the dream about Lahoodle's information. Sengoku, with white hair, faced with a calm expression, Accelerator also retreated because of this. Although the lives of the soldiers were saved, the headquarters building standing in Marineford has been destroyed, and top-secret information has been leaked. I am willing to take all responsibility. Starting today, I, Sengoku, step down from the post of marshal. The 4 Gorosei, 5 elders looked complicated. Among them, the old man with crutches was furious. Sengoku, you have always been known as the resourceful general, but this time, you have made a big mistake. Sengoku, you have disappointed me too much. The old man with a face with a national character was equally distressed. The headquarters building was destroyed, although serious, but not fatal. The real problem is that you leaked Lahoodle's intelligence. I'm willing to accept any punishment. Sengoku seemed to see through everything, or was already tired, and his eyes had lost the will to defend all disputes, but I don't think I did anything wrong. If I didn't do that at the time, I would die. It doesn't matter, the lives of hundreds of thousands of young soldiers are the most important thing. During this time, he figured out that his duty is to protect world peace. If even his own soldiers can't protect it, what peace is he talking about? So, Garp did the right thing at the time, and Sengoku chose to put all the blame on himself. You can't sit down as a marshal anymore. One of the Gorosei, 5 elders shook his head. Before the new marshal is selected, you will temporarily serve as the marshal and handle daily affairs. As for the rest of the punishment, the old man with the crutch looked gloomy. All your past achievements are not worth this gaffe. It is not worth it, but is no way to punish Sengoku. Marine shall not be turned upside down. So Gorosei, 5 elders are also difficult to do. Normally, they should be put in prison. Forget it, when the new marshal takes office, you can step back and train recruit. In the end, the old man with the mustache made a final decision. However, hearing this, Sengoku shook his head and said solemnly, Gorosei, 5 elders, I can't agree. If you don't want to imprison me, then I can only choose to quit Marine. I have one thing I have to do, go to Dun. What? Quit Marine? What, are you kidding? What do you want to do? The expressions of the 4 of them changed slightly. When Kuzan quit Marine, they didn't even want to keep him. After a little thought, they agreed. Admiral class, or Kuzan the Admiral, is just a thug to the Gorosei, 5 elders. But Sengoku is different. It's a symbol of Marine's era. If it quits Marine, isn't it a joke? Therefore, Gorosei, 5 elders did not punish Sengoku too much, but let the other party train recruit, which is considered a punishment of the nature of retirement. I have to go. Sengoku looked serious and firm. At least, I want to know, what did we lose to? You want to? I'm going to join the fantasy. Sengoku's words were amazing, but there was no joke in his tone. Even if I can't join them, I want to see everything I want to know. You're really crazy. The old man in the hood couldn't believe it. You're locking you up more than we do. To this, Sengoku was unmoved. Then lock me up. Otherwise, I will die. I must go and see, what are they? Where did they come from? Why did they have extraordinary power? Why did they disappear? Why did they appear? Their base camp, and where are they hiding? All these, I want to know. Hearing this, the 4 old men looked at each other and fell silent. This silence is a full 10 minutes. Obviously, the 4 of them are fighting fiercely in their hearts. In the end, the old man with the mustache still agreed. I know, Sengoku, you are getting old too. This is probably your last madness. If you die, we will bring your bones back and bury them in Marine Cemetery. Yes, I will see everything and bring everything back. Sengoku gave a faint smile, then turned to leave. The moment he stepped out of the door, the justice coat on his body slipped quietly. Veterans don't die, they just fade away. The sentence Chin Yang said a few days ago resounded in his mind. Mysteria, the branch of this fantasy world. Qin sat on the sofa, looked at Doflamingo, and said, I'll give you a task now. For your excellency commissioner, please do as you please. Doflamingo grinned Isho. He felt that he had helped a little this time. If this continues, he will be promoted to a full member sooner or later. At an altitude of 10,000 meters in this place, there is a white sea with a tree of omniscience on it. You go and ask it what the devil's fruit mystery is, and then bring the answer back. The tree of omniscience. Doflamingo was taken aback, then said, I heard that there was a divine tree that existed a long, long time ago. Some people speculate that it was the old tree that ate the fruit of omniscience. Just as he was talking, the door suddenly knocked, and then Nico Robin's voice came. Your Excellency Special Envoy, the former Marine Admiral Kuzan is here and asks to see you. Chapter-365-Advent Dressrosa. Kuzan. Qin thought about it for a while, but he couldn't make up his mind. After all, he's not a god, not the connection between Kuzan and the priest and the saint. However, this kind of thing is irrelevant. Qin is not interested in seeing Kuzan for the time being. Let him wait and see him when I'm free. Yes. Outside the door, Robin nodded and left immediately. Seeing this, Doflamingo got up and said, Then, I will complete the task. Go ahead, remember to bow first and then soldiers. The tree of omniscience has self-awareness. If you are sincere, you can get the answer. If it doesn't work, use force. If force is useless, then cut it down. Qin ordered casually. Understood. Exactly, I have a group of subordinates in Mock Town. Doflamingo grinned Isho and turned away immediately. Subordinate, Bellamy's pirates. Qin secretly said in his heart, it doesn't matter whether there is an answer or not. The most important thing at present is to collect the Scarlet Stone first and find Lahoodle. The first target is Zowu. Zo, a fantasy island in the New World, is a 1,000-year-old giant elephant. When Qin was slapped flying by a bear, he saw it from a distance. Now I want to find it temporarily, but it seems a little troublesome. The giant elephant will move frequently and will not stay in a certain area for too long. The approximate range is the sea area in front of Dressrosa. Moreover, he walks on the sea surface, and he must not walk in the deep sea area. At most, he moves in the sea area with a depth of several hundred meters. Qin pondered for a moment and came up with a rough range. However, if you find the red stone, just in case it's fake, take Robin with you. Thinking of this, Qin summoned Nicole Robin again. She handed over everything on the island to many cadres. After that, the two left Mysteria. 10 days later. A ship without any flags sailed slowly on the sea. This is the sea area around Dressrosa. After 10 days of searching, Qin could not find any trace of the giant elephant Zo. It seems that we have to find another way. It's a waste of time to find it this way. In the lounge, Qin sat on the round sofa, holding the back of his head with both hands, with a thoughtful expression on his face. Calculation is nice, but it's really troublesome to find. At this time, Nicole Robin brewed a cup of green tea and said softly, Mr. Special Envoy, don't worry too much, the giant elephant is so huge, as long as it shows up, someone will always see it, and we can collect relevant information. Hearing this, Qin shook his head and said, there will be fog around Zuowu. Unless you are very close, the ship cannot see it, and you can only probe it from the air. In the air, Nicole Robin blinked. In this case, you can find someone whose abilities may be useful. Huh. Princess Violet of Dressrosa, Robin Vivi Isho, with a wise light flashing in her eyes. She is the second princess of the Liku royal family and has the Paramecious stare fruit. According to information, her eyes can center on themselves, and can detect the radius of high-altitude exploration of everything within 4,000 kilometers. Quote. Radius of 4,000 kilometers. Qin was taken aback. He knew glancing Guago and a woman like Violet Lan, but the detection radius of 4,000 kilometers was really surprising. P.S. I checked some things, whether it's Wikipedia or the discussion on the post, they all say 4,000 kilometers, not 4,000 meters, so I can only write this for the time being. Then turn around and go to Dressrosa. Chin-Yong was overjoyed and praised, as expected of the big housekeeper, your reminder saved a lot of effort. Hearing this, Robin blinked and said with a smile, isn't it a chorus? She has been with Accelerator for 10 days, and has already figured out the character of this special commissioner. She usually doesn't have many airs, and it doesn't hurt to make a joke. In this regard, Chin-Yong shook his head with a smile. I know, when Lord Chin comes back, I propose to him that you should be promoted to the chief steward. While joking, Robin asked the helmsman to steer the boat to the nearest island, Dressrosa. Fortunately, the ship was very close to Dressrosa, and it took only half a day to arrive. After docking at the port, Chin-Yong took Robin and the two went directly to the palace. After coming to this country again after many years, Chin-Yong felt a little strange. This is an island country that is as enthusiastic as it is like Hawaii. The current Dressrosa is not a toy kingdom under the rule of Doflamingo. For this, the king has to thank Chin-Yong. Soon after, the great library of the royal palace. King Liku Dole III is accompanying a 14-15-year-old girl to study. The girl has long pink hair and looks lovely. At this moment, a guard in armor walked in, knelt down on one knee, and said in a panic, Your Majesty, little Princess Rebecca. Two people came from outside the palace, one man and one woman, and the Thunder soldiers couldn't stop them. Hold them, they've broken in. What? King Liku was stunned, then turned to the long pink-haired girl, and said kindly, Rebecca, Grandpa leave for a while, you should read the book yourself. Saying that, he got up quickly and walked out of the library resolutely. As soon as he walked out of the door, King Riku's face became solemn. Who is it? I don't know. I only know that it is a man and a woman. The man is 16 or 17 years old, with white hair. His ability is very strange. All attacks on the opponent will be bounced back. Now a team of Thunder soldiers has been completely destroyed. Now. The soldier answered quickly. What's going on? King Liku frowned deeply. The soldier swallowed his saliva and said cautiously, Before I came to report, Her Royal Highness the Second Princess happened to be nearby, so she had already stopped. Violet, King Liku's face darkened. At the same time, in the King's Heights, in front of a flower bed full of orange flowers, dozens of heavily armed soldiers fell to the ground. Behind the soldier, a woman in a purple floral dress was staring blankly at each other. You're Nicole Robin. Violet stared at Robin in disbelief. You know, Chin-Yong was stunned. In this regard, Robin smiled embarrassedly and said, I have met several times. Saying that, she looked at Violet, long time no see, second princess. Violet bit her lower lip and suddenly had a bad feeling. He is my dream commissioner, Accelerator. Robin introduced calmly. Hearing this, Violet's expression changed greatly. She looked at Chin-Yong in horror, and said, You are the one who destroyed the Marine headquarters. Who knows about the big event half a month ago? As the protagonist of the big event, Accelerator's name also spread throughout the New World in a short period of time. He. Chin-Yong chuckled twice and said, Don't be so nervous, I just need to use your eyes to come here this time. You're going to dig my eyes. Violet's body was shocked, and she took a step back subconsciously. Chin-Yong was speechless. Is the dream name so terrible? He said was borrowing, but when others heard it, it became digging. Chapter 0366_Beastmaster Pirates. I want to use your ability. Chin-Yong was speechless and said again, I need you to do me a favor. Hearing this, Violet breathed a sigh of relief. It was really a dreamy reputation. After 9 years, he came back strong and smashed the Marine headquarters as soon as he made a move. Are you going to use my abilities? Violet glanced at Robin and said cautiously, What do you want me to do? Help me find a country. Chin-Yong explained a little, and said the country of Zuowu in general. After finishing speaking, Before Violet could speak, a deep voice came from a distance. Zo Island is the legendary island of giant elephants. The inhabitants of the island are fur tribesmen. Because of its particularity, the recording pointer cannot capture its position, so you need my daughter's ability. Is that so? King Liku was walking in a tiger's footsteps. Although he was old, he still showed great strength in his actions. He walked up to Violet, looked at Qin Yang, and said, "However, I want to remind you that the fur clan treats human beings not friendly. One of the few races that hates humans very much. The fur tribe, or the mink tribe, is said to be a race that hates human beings. This tribe has a history of thousands of years and has always lived in the country of giant elephants and has no contact with the outside world. King Liku, I want to borrow your daughter this time. Don't worry, I will bring her back safely." Qin Yang said calmly. "As for the fur tribe, there is no need to worry, it's just a rumor that they hate humans. In fact, in the eyes of the fur tribe, humans are no different from monkeys." Quote. Hearing this, King Liku looked hesitant. He didn't want to agree and let his daughter take the risk. He was very worried about what would go wrong, but the other party was a dream commissioner who had demolished the marine headquarters not long ago. If he did not agree, the palace might end up like the marine headquarters. Fate. It's not okay to refuse, only to agree. Dream messenger, how about this? After thinking about it, King Liku finally decided, I will let the commander of King Liku's army go with him. He may be able to help. Help? Are you afraid that I will abduct your daughter away? Qin Yang murmured inwardly, but he could understand it. He nodded immediately and said, no problem, as long as you don't make trouble for me. Soldier, go and inform Cyrus. The soldier beside the Liku dynasty ordered. Not long after, a man in a red cloak came quickly. Your Majesty, I already know the matter, please rest assured, I will definitely protect Princess Violet. Cyrus opened his mouth respectfully, then looked at Qin Yang and said, Special Envoy, I have a request. I have experienced thousands of battles in my life, but this wound on my chest, I still clearly remember it now. With a serious expression, Cyrus opened the front of his shirt, revealing a stagnant scar underneath. 10 years ago, the sword of the fantastic Kadri Night King slashed me. I didn't want revenge, but it was hard to let go. I want to fight him again, please tell me where is the Night King. He. Qin Yang was happy. A few days ago, Hawkeye wanted to challenge Heilong, but he did not expect to encounter another challenge from a defeated general today. Don't give up. Your strength has indeed grown, but compared to the King of Knights, you are still one eagle eye behind. The world's largest swordsman has become a unit of measurement. Robin on the side couldn't resist Isho. In this regard, Cyrus was unwilling. However, Qin Yang was not interested in ignoring him, but said to King Liku, this time you have done me a big favor. As a special envoy of Dream, I must reciprocate. Well, give your country a going disc. Of this, Qin Yang murmured softly, summon Desert Emperor. Call. In the garden, a burst of yellow sand rose out of thin air, and the sand rolled and quickly condensed into a figure. Desert Emperor Azir. After appearing, Azir nodded to Qin Yang, and then the going scepter in his hand was raised high, shining golden light radiated out, and then suddenly hit the sky. Going disc. Whoosh. This golden light flew over the palace, quickly turned into a disc, and slowly turned, as if the eyes of God were watching, penetrating the entire kingdom. This is, King Liku said blankly. This is the sign of my dream. Robin explained quickly. This thing can distinguish hostility. If someone is malicious to you within the kingdom, it will automatically recognize an attack. The light bomb it shoots out can automatically lock and track the enemy, until the enemy perishes, otherwise it will not stop. Quote. It's done. Azir took back his scepter, glanced at Qin Yang, and then disappeared into yellow sand. Before King Liku could speak, Qin Yang said one step ahead, you don't need to thank me. Princess Violet, and Cyrus, you two, come with us. Father. Violet looked at King Liku and asked. Deep down in her heart, she didn't actually want to go, but she was also a little curious, all of which seemed contradictory. Go ahead and protect yourself, Cyrus, Violet, please. Yes, Your Majesty. In a certain shallow sea area of the New World, a ship sailed against the wind. On the deck, Chinyang and others stood on the bow, staring straight ahead. That's it, through the thick fog ahead, you can probably see a giant elephant. Robin said. I finally found it. Chinyang's eyes flashed and he asked, Violet, are you sure it's here? Yes, I found its traces 2 days ago. When I found it, I was really shocked. It was too huge. The body of this giant elephant can be felt even from a bird's eye view. Huge, I am afraid there is a height of nearly 2,000 meters. Violet spoke in amazement. Suddenly, her complexion changed slightly, and a look of surprise appeared in her unfocused eyes. What's wrong? Robin asked. There is a ship, at the foot of the giant elephant. You can see a big ship. It's a pirate ship, and the flag is. She took a deep breath and said in shock, it's the 4 Emperors. The banner of the Beastmaster Pirates. Beastmaster Pirates. Chinyang was stunned, thought for a moment, and said to himself, Lion is also eyeing the red stone. Thinking of this, Chinyang suddenly remembered that some time ago, he went to Cake Island as Lei Gong, but the werewolf pirates gave Big Mom a Yinbei, and the words that Yinbei left seemed to be the same. About the red stone. At that time, Charlotte Linlin was furious. Judging from the reaction, it seemed to be the case. 2.7 is interesting. It should be said that you have bad luck, or I am very lucky. Chinyang grinned. Anyway, sooner or later, he will meet the Beastmaster Pirates. Just thinking about it, Violet's complexion changed greatly, and he said, suddenly a giant beast appeared and fought with a giant elephant. Beast. Cyrus frowned. A very large humanoid beast. Is it the legendary Beeman? Violet was shocked. In her field of vision, the giant beast was as tall as a giant elephant. It was simply outrageous. A beast and an elephant are standing on the sea, wrestling and fighting. The scary thing is that the giant elephant seems to be inferior to the giant beast in terms of strength. Beeman Behemoth. Nicole Robin frowned slightly, looking at Chinyang, and said, it is one of the 2 monsters of the Beastmaster Pirates, Lai Jie, Zone Mythical Orc Fruit Beeman form, with a bounty of 1,035,000,000. Quote. Chapter-367_kickaway. The third update after reading the book review, some readers think that Beeman should be mythical human fruit, not orc fruit. I think it makes sense, and then changed it to human fruit. Close black lens bracket. Behemoth, one of the 2 monsters of the Beastmaster Pirates. His name is Lego, Zone Mythical human fruit Beeman form. As the ace fighter of the 4 Emperor Pirates, the bounty is as high as 1.035 billion. 2 monsters. And hearing this, Chinyang asked, where's the other one? The other one is Pegasus, with a bounty of 1.1 billion, Zone Mythical Dog Fruit Hell 3-headed dog form. Robin replied softly, the Beastmaster Pirates also appeared in Zo. I'm afraid the purpose is the same as ours. There are quite a few mythicals. Chinyang raised his eyebrows. This is a fruit that is even rarer than Logia. There are 2 in one pirate group. Of course, he just lamented the low probability of this. Accelerate going. Yes. Immediately, the sails were fully unfolded, and the ship rushed into the thick fog at a faster speed. This white fog has a ring shape, covering the giant elephant Zo. Stabbing for 10 minutes and 15 minutes, the ship finally broke through the thick fog, and in front of the field of vision, there were also the giant elephants and giant beasts that Violet had mentioned. In front of the sea, a giant elephant as huge as a mountain peaked, walking on the sea. The back of the giant elephant, surrounded by clouds and mist, was extremely mysterious. On the other side, the giant beast Beeman is also huge, and its head is flush with the tusks of the giant elephant. At this moment, the 2 sides are fighting head-on. The giant beast hugs the pair of tusks of the giant elephant and pushes back the giant elephant's footsteps little by little. Beeman's body is in human form, standing on 2 feet, but his hands are only 3 claws, and the claws are extremely sharp. From a distance, he looks like a long-haired ape man. Unbelievable, Cyrus said in shock. Zone can be so huge. Even mythical, it's hard to believe. Among the huge giants, Oz, the so-called carrying country, is only 100 meters tall, but this Beeman is nearly 2,000 meters long. It's not worth it. Robin shook his head and said, it is said that Lego has 3 forms. One is the half-orc form with a height of 3.5 meters, which is the best at fighting, and the second is the Beeman form with a height of 80 meters. Can make the best use of mythical S ability, and finally is the giant beast form with a height of 1800 meters. In this state, he will be very slow, all the strength is used to strengthen his strength, and he has the superpower to move mountains and reclaim the sea. Quote. Pause. She glanced at Violet again and said, in comparison, the second princess's staring fruit is an incredible existence, with a bird's-eye view radius of 4,000 kilometers. Hearing this, Cyrus still couldn't calm down. Isn't that capable person unable to touch the sea? He is already standing in the sea, why is he still active? In this regard, Chin Yong snorted softly and said, highly proficient fruit people have a certain resistance to seawater. Many people with ability are handcuffed by sea stone, so they can still walk around at will. Besides, this Beeman is so huge. The shallow sea area less than 100 meters deep, to him, is just a small puddle, although it still affects, but it is not fatal. Quote. Speaking of this, he couldn't help but smile. It should be to deal with the giant elephant, so I have to use this huge form, otherwise this slow-moving speed will only become a living target. Just like his sea dragon transformation, with a length of about 200 meters, it is the most suitable for fighting, and the bigger it is, the slower it will be. If he had the heart, Chin Yong could even turn into a real dragon with a height of tens of thousands of meters, but with that length, it would be difficult to even move a single step. Robin, you stay on the boat. Saying that, Chin Yong stepped out, and in an instant, the whole person was ejected. The whole person is like a fighter plane, flying from the air, and in a blink of an eye, it has come to the middle of the 2 giant beasts. Huh. Lai Jie grabbed the loud tusks in both hands, and wanted to overturn the giant elephant, but at this moment, his eyes glanced, and suddenly saw that on the right tusk of the giant elephant, an incomparably small human, suddenly appear there. Who? He opened his mouth to speak. But because of his huge body, his voice is very low, like a monster, and the voice is drawn for a long time, falling into the ears of others, and it is extremely difficult to hear. I admire your courage in fighting the giant elephant of Zhou, but you are too arrogant to still pay attention to me under this circumstance. With a mocking expression on his face, Chin Yong stood on top of the giant elephant's tusks, with an expression like watching a play. At this moment, the giant elephant's trunk suddenly shrank, and the next moment, it suddenly straightened. The nose is like a long chang, and it is thrown out sharply, hitting Lai Ji's abdomen. Boom! A giant elephant shook the surface of the sea, and Lai Ji's body shook, and finally he couldn't support it. The whole person staggered and stepped back. You bastard! Lai Jie was furious. If it wasn't for Chin Yang's sudden appearance, which distracted him, how could he have been hit so easily? Immediately, he opened his huge mouth and roared. Roar! The harsh roar turned into a circle of sound waves. This was a roar from Beeman. With one roar, it was able to shake a beast in a mountain forest to death. It was a super intense sonic attack. However, Chin Yong waved his hand, and all the sound waves in the vicinity were bounced back, and returned to Lage with the same level of intensity. What? Lai Ji's complexion changed, and he was hit by his own roar. With a bang, a blood-red color appeared on the surface of his skin. All the internal organs were injured. As expected of Beeman, his physique is really strong. Chin Yong was still standing on the top of the giant elephant's tusks, and the old god was looking at each other on the ground. Who are you? You have no right to know. Ha, one of the two kings of Zhou, the king of daylight. Lai Jie looked fierce and murderous. No, the king of daylight is not you, you are not a fur tribe. Forget it, no matter which one, you are still go to hell. Saying that, he raised his claws and grabbed Qin Yang violently. Compared with the giant elephant, Qin Yang, the uninvited guest, has a higher priority. A slow attack, anyone with a little rokushiki can dodge it. Qin Yang's expression was indifferent, his body moved, and he suddenly greeted him. 473 He jumped up, shuttled directly between the three claws, and came to the face of the behemoth in one breath. This huge body has no meaning other than being a living target. In Qing Yusheng, Qin Yang turned his back and swept away. That's called power. This kick was quick, but from Lai Ji's eyes, it was weak. HMPH, what the hell? He was disdainful in his heart, even disdain for defense, to know that Beeman's skin defense is the strongest, his body, the slashes of ordinary great swordsmen, can't be cut, unless a swordsman of the level of Hawkeye shot. However, this idea was subverted in the next moment. Qin Yang's kick hit his cheek. Compared with Beeman's huge head, this foot is like a mosquito, not worth mentioning. However, it was this insignificant blow that instantly sent out an indescribable terrifying force. Lai Jie was shocked to find that his vision shifted for a while. It wasn't that his eyes turned, but his head was kicked crookedly. Boom. Then, there was a loud noise. Impossible. Lai Jie spoke in shock. He was shocked to find that his body, which was so huge that he could see the sea and nothing, was kicked off the ground by the opponent's kick and fell into the ocean in the air. How is this possible? Who are you? With a bang, along with his roar, Lai Ji's body crashed into the ocean. Chapter 0368_Fruit of Life. The first update tilde someone asked, why Lage can move in the sea. Imagine, Kuzan is standing in a small puddle, the water surface just below his instep, will Kuzan feel powerless and unable to move? In the same way, proportionally zooming in, the shallow sea area is also the same for Lai Jie. Close black lens bracket. Who are you? Lage's huge body lifted off the ground, his center of gravity shifted, and he fell heavily to the side. Seeing this scene, Violet in the distance fell into a sluggishness. This who is the monster? One kick can knock down that kind of behemoth. Violet's eyes widened, and on her pretty face, her mouth opened, unable to close it for a long time. It's terrifying, a billion-level pirate, in his hands, can be easily played like a child. Cyrus showed shock. How powerful is that kick? During the speech, the behemoth of Beeman fell into the sea, and the waves that were set off were 100 meters high. Captain Lego. In the distance, on a pirate ship, all the pirates on the Beeman were shocked. The first time they saw the captain was kicked down, it turned their worldview upside down. And Lai Jie himself was even more furious. However, at this moment, he was sitting in the sea, and a sense of powerlessness was constantly invading him, making him unable to concentrate his strength and difficult to get up in a short time. Although the awakened zone will have resistance to seawater, but that means that when the contact area is small, like now, half of the body is soaked by seawater, and it will be the same result for anyone. Sure enough, it's a living target. Qin Yang fell back to the tusk of the giant elephant of Zhou again, and looked down at Lai Jie calmly. My kick just now didn't have much power, it just destroyed your center of gravity. Who are you On Zhou Island, they are all fur tribes, and they are obviously different from humans in appearance. For example, there will be a bunny head, a woman's body, or a dog's head and a man, and so on. Thinking of this, Lai Jie gritted his teeth and said, it's not that I am conceited, there are only a few people who can knock me down with one blow, except for the 4 emperors. You can't be marine, then, it must be a pirate. Among the pirates there are very few people with strength like you. Inferring like this, are you a dream? I can't see it, your limbs are well developed, but your brain is not bad. Qin Yang raised his eyebrows and grinned, I am Accelerator. Accelerator. Lai Ji's pupils shrank, and he immediately thought of the information from half a month ago. The Marine headquarters building was destroyed. Because of this person, the older Marines disappeared and retired. He never imagined that he would encounter a dreamer in such a place, and he was not an ordinary member, and his strength was equivalent to the terrifying existence of the dominant cadre. "Why are you shooting at me?" Lai Ji's tone was no longer tough, and there was clearly a strong sense of alert in his voice. "Our Beastmaster pirates have never had a conflict with your dreams, and it can even be said that this is the first time. A meet-up. This is what I want to ask." Qin Yang snorted coldly and said, "You came to Zuowu Island to get the Scarlet Stone. Whose order?" Hearing this, Lai Ji's expression changed. "Their Beastmaster pirates have conducted a series of investigations on Dream, and they also know the general situation of the Battle of Cake Island that year. Dream lured hundreds of New World pirates to land with the Red Stone, thereby suppressing them as much as possible. It can be deduced that the Dream did not pursue the Red Stone, because the real Red Stone was still in Charlotte Linlin's hands. But now it seems that this is not the case. You also want the Red Stone. I ask you, whose order is it?" Qin Yang's eyes narrowed, and in an instant, a hurricane rolled up out of thin air, rolling the waves, forming a huge sea tornado. "Do you want to be engulfed by a tornado and die in the sea?" "It's Captain Ryan's order." Lai Jie couldn't help dripping a cold sweat. His defense was terrifying. There were very few people who could kill him, but like ordinary people, sea water was his fatal weakness. Qin Yang's hand basically put the knife in his heart, and if he exerted any force, he would die. "Don't worry, I won't kill you. You can go back and bring a message. The Red Stone is what I want to dream about, and I advise him to give up as soon as possible." Qin Yang waved his hand, the sea tornado vanished again, and a large amount of sea water poured on Lage like a downpour. "Of course, if he wants to die, I'm also happy to give him a ride." After he finished speaking, he ignored it and turned to look at the back of the giant elephant of Zhou, where there is a country. "Wait," Lai Jie shouted. "Accelerator, since your dreams also need the Red Stone, why don't we join forces together? Our Beastmaster pirates have already mastered the location of the 3 red stones. The stone tablets can be given to you. We just need the rubbing. Go away." Qin Yang sent a word and glanced at him coldly. "Don't get out, die." Just when Qin Yang found Zhou Island, Doflamingo also came to Mok Town in the first half of the Great Route. Different from the day in the New World, the Mok Town at the same time as night. Under the night, Doflamingo stood outside a broken bar, looking annoyed at the man on the ground. The man's name is Bellamy, the pirate captain, Shichibukai Doflamingo's command, with a bounty of 55 million. However, at this moment, Bellamy had a deep fist mark on his left face, apparently knocked out by a punch. "Who will explain, what's the situation?" Doflamingo's face was black, looking extremely annoyed. He didn't care about Bellamy's life or death, but was afraid of delaying the task Qin Yang gave him. If it were normal, such a waste subordinate, he would be slapped to death with a slap. Doflamingo, it was done by a pirate in a straw hat. That's right, the man asked about the way to Sky Island in the tavern. Bellamy went over to laugh at it, and then started fighting. No, it was Bellamy who took a fancy to a female crew member under the straw hat, and then angered the other party. The other party didn't fight back. A group of pirates explained the general situation one by one. Hearing this, Doflamingo snorted coldly. What a waste, a pirate who is content with pleasure, either dead or on the road to perdition. Bellamy the hyena, in Mok Town, was a promising rookie pirate, but was defeated by a punch, which made Doflamingo feel dull. "You." Suddenly, Doflamingo pointed to a pirate who had spoken earlier, and said, "Take me to the drop point of the Sky Island Divine Kingdom. Once it's done, you will be the captain in the future." Hearing this, the pirate was startled at first, then overjoyed. "Yes." He hurriedly agreed, and then hesitantly said, as if he had remembered something, that place is now controlled by someone. "What?" It was a priest who appeared a few days ago and expelled all those who had invaded the kingdom of God. He occupied the place all by himself. Father. Doflamingo frowned deeply and pondered for a long time before he said, "Can his ability absorb other people's lives?" "Ah, yes, I've seen it before. A person was photographed by the other party, and he died immediately, with a black look on his face," Pirate said in horror. "It sure is this man." Doflamingo thought to himself, "One of the top devil fruits, the fruit of life. This guy is still alive." Chapter-369 How did you agree? This guy is still alive. Doflamingo thought to himself, and suddenly felt the difficulty of this mission. The so-called priest, many years ago, was still a pirate, a long time ago, many years before he joined the dream. In the era when Roger was not One Piece, king of pirates, the priest was already a pirate. No, to be precise, it should be said that he is an adventurer. He does not belong to any pirate group, but travels all over the world. Because he often conflicts with other pirate groups, he has a proud record, so it can be said that the name moved for a while. Back then, the man's bounty was as high as 1.44 billion, but for some reason, after Roger conquered the Great Route, he suddenly disappeared. 22 years have passed in the blink of an eye, and he still hasn't died. Calculating his age, this person should be about the same age as Whitebeard. The fruit of life really deserves to be the top fruit, and it can keep people young forever. Of course, it's just that the life form is maintained at the moment of eating the devil fruit, and the lifespan will not be longer. It turns out that if you can live to 80 years old, you can only live to 80 years old, and you will rapidly age within the day when your lifespan is exhausted. With this in mind, Doflamingo considered whether to contact Accelerator. Because the strength of more than 1.4 billion pirates has been infinitely close to the four emperors, he is definitely not an opponent. Moreover, that was more than 20 years ago, and now, this priest's combat power is probably stronger. No, if you encounter a little problem, ask for help, and I'm afraid Dream's evaluation of me will be lower. Doflamingo frowned and said secretly, "I am doing things on behalf of the Dream now, and I just want to ask the Tree of Omniscience a question, just don't conflict with him." Thinking of this, he immediately ordered the pirate to prepare the boat and set off towards the crash point. Sky Island Divine Kingdom, the point of fall. The country that originally floated above the sky, fell 10,000 meters into the sky and came to the blue sea. Most of the Sky Island people on it have died, but there are still some who survived. Several priests and generals have survived. But the death of Saint Angela made the gods lose the blessing of angels, that is, the power of holy light, so the actual combat power is not much higher than that of priests. Therefore, some time ago, in the battle with the invaders, 2 more lives were lost, and in the end only 1 divine general survived. A few days ago, the priest came here, and the first thing he did was to expel all the intruders, and also killed some of the murderers by the way. At this moment, in the upper space of the divine kingdom of Sky Island, inside the ruins of the temple, in a large rotunda, the priest looked silently at an angel statue in the center of the hall. Fortunately, the statue is not broken. He sighed lightly, and suddenly, his brows furrowed, someone invaded again. His observation hockey perceives the entire kingdom of God, and in the north direction, a small pirate ship docked, and a few pirates walked down from it. They dare to come here, they are all guys who are not afraid of death. They just need some life force. With a thought, he has turned and left the temple. Not to mention the situation in Mock Town and Sky Island, at the foot of the giant elephant zoo, Chinyong repelled one of the 2 monsters of the Beastmaster pirates, Beam and Lage. Directly threatened by Chinyong, Lai Jie could only admit his counsel temporarily. He released the behemoth form and returned to the boat. "What's the matter, Captain?" whispered one of the Beeman's combatants. "Are we evacuating?" "Withdraw." Lai Jie snorted coldly. "Keep away from him first, lest he really do it, and also, bring the phone bug, I want to contact the captain." "Yes." When their pirate ship left, Chinyong returned to his captain. As soon as he got on the deck, he said, "Robin, get ready, let's go to the island. As for the two of you, you can choose to go back now, your mission has been completed." Hearing this, Cyrus hurriedly wanted to agree, but Violet spoke first. "No, I want to see it too. Do you mind taking me with you?" "Second princess," Cyrus urged hurriedly. "Don't worry, the special envoy is strong and we are safe." Was noncommittal, summoned Shadow Demon. As soon as the voice fell, a plume of black smoke overflowed from his chest, and then quickly condensed into a dark shadow. Shadow World EH. As soon as it appeared, the Shadow Demon was ready to open the Shadow World and bring a few people directly to the country of giant elephants, but at this moment, the sound of summons kept coming. "I have something to do, just a few minutes." The Shadow Demon glanced at a few people, and with a thought, disappeared immediately. Mysteria, Dream Branch, on the second floor of a church-style building, in a parlor. A man kept mumbling, calling out the Shadow Demon's name. At this moment, the shadow of darkness descended directly behind him. Feeling the response of the summon, the man was overjoyed and said respectfully, "Master Shadow Demon." "What's the matter?" The Shadow Demon turned his eyes and looked at the two people on the opposite side. Coincidentally, these two are very familiar. One is the former Marine Marshal Sengoku, the other is the former Marine Admiral Kuzan. Without the need for an answer from his subordinates, the Shadow Demon reacted after thinking for a while. Immediately smiled. "What a rare visitor, Marshal Sengoku, we haven't seen each other for a long time. I didn't expect you to be full of white hair." Hearing this, Sengoku looked calm. He had the most dealings with the dreamy Shadow Demons, and he deliberately asked the other party's cadres to summon the Shadow Demons. "Long time no see. Thanks to you, I am no longer a marshal," Sengoku said freely. "I came to you this time, not on behalf of Marine, but on my own behalf. I want to join your fantasy." "Okay." The Shadow Demon thought for a while, and then agreed. Sengoku didn't react, but he explained Shikai according to what he wanted to say. "Although we used to be hostile, it was a different position. Now I have resigned as Marshal of Marine and retired from the army, and I am a free man. Your dreams are different from ordinary pirates, but Halfway through speaking, he suddenly widened his eyes. "What did you say?" "If you want to join, there's no problem. You've been a marshal for so long, and you're so talented. My dream is in need of someone like you." Shadow Demon laughed. Why did you agree?" Sengoku's face was full of disbelief. Dream is not playing cards according to the routine. Normally, which organization will accept the enemy's leader? He has prepared a lot of rhetoric, and is even ready to be humiliated. However, the dream approach is always something he can't figure out. As if seeing his thoughts, the Shadow Demon chuckled twice. He Sengoku, you left Marine and joined our dream, just to see with your own eyes what kind of organization our dream is. This is not a big problem. I don't care, and Lord Chindi will not care. You just have to do a good job for us. Speaking of which, Shadow Demon paused. Although I have a different position before, I still have a very high opinion of you. Marshal Sengoku no, newcomer Sengoku, welcome to join the dream. I wait like a dream, everywhere. Quote. After hearing these words, Sengoku was dumbfounded and couldn't say a word for a while. Chapter 0370 The First Red Stone. Under the left belly of the giant elephant of Zou, on the deck of the ship, a dark shadow flashed past, and the Shadow Demon appeared instantly. Within 5 minutes, the Shadow Demon had already returned. Robin couldn't help asking, "What happened?" "Someone wants to join us. After I asked Lord Qin Emperor's will, I agreed. Like you, he is a full member as soon as he comes in." "Him. You'll see soon." The Shadow Demon didn't explain too much, just waving his hands and tearing apart the space tilde. The Shadow World is like the giant mouth of a monster, swallowing Robin and several people in one breath. The next moment, his body turned into a plume of black smoke and drifted away. Not long after, the back of Zoe's giant elephant was thick with black smoke, and ripples in the space, like a strange mouth, opened to reveal several people behind. Qinyang stepped out and looked around at the scene. My mission is complete, I'm leaving. The shadow demon's voice came out, and it also dissipated. This is Zoe Island, Robin murmured softly, looking ahead. As far as everyone's eyes can see, there is a towering city gate, and there are observation towers on both sides of the city gate, but everything seems very quiet, empty, and silent. There is really civilization on the back of the giant elephant. Violet murmured in surprise. I see it with my own eyes, but I still think it's incredible. Cyrus took the first step, checked the risks, and spoke in a deep voice until he reached the city gate. These buildings are hundreds of years old at first glance. But it's very strange. The city gate has been destroyed, and it has been, judging from the traces, it has been a long time, at least a few months. Months. Nico Robin Vivi was startled and immediately looked at Qinyang. Qinyang looked as usual, and walked into the town without haste. As soon as you enter the city gate, it is an avenue, but the road is severely damaged, with potholes and weeds everywhere, and there is a dead air in the air. This country was artificially destroyed. According to the calculation time, at least a month has passed, and the person who shot it is extremely powerful. It was almost a blow to make this place look like this. Qinyang looked around and pondered. He is a top expert above the admiral level. Beastmaster pirates, Cyrus said subconsciously. It wasn't them. If it was their captain or the co-captain who did it, there would be no need for Beaumont Lego to come today. Qinyang shook his head, not expecting someone to move faster than him. No wonder the people in this country didn't react when Lego fought the giant elephant just now, because they were all dead. The name of the country is Furry Principality, and there are two kings, the Day King, Duke Inuarashi, and the Night King, Nekomamushi. These two kings are very powerful, and even if they face a billion-level pirate, they can be at a disadvantage one-on-one. Pay me. Moreover, the Fur clan is born a warrior P, with extraordinary jumping ability. The average dog person can jump dozens of meters high. It can be said that the total combat power of this small country is stronger than that of some big countries. However, it is still destroyed. It is conceivable that the person who took the shot is likely to be the fourth emperor. There are only a few of the 4 emperors in the world, and it is easy to calculate. Qinyang's inner analysis ruled out. Whitebeard will not be so boring. Big Mom's trend is very clear. Without that time, it is possible to have red hair, but according to his personality, this person will not do anything to destroy the country. As for the Beastmaster, this guy can't either, or Baymonleg wouldn't have appeared today. The current 4 pirate emperors are all excluded, and the rest are the former 4 emperors, or those who do not have the power of the 4 emperors, but have the combat power of the 4 emperors. Kaido, Golden Lion, Scarlet Earl and more. Golden Lion on Sky Island, impossible. Scarlet Earl doesn't have this destructive power. Kaido. Qinyang finally suspects Kaido, and it is very possible that this person is not dead yet. If you think about it, it's possible that if you sink him to the bottom, you can kill him, and so can Marine. Of course, it's also possible that it's not Kaido, but an unknown guy. Just thinking about it, Violet exclaimed, there is really no one. There is no one in the whole country, and there is no corpse. You can still see some bloodstains, but not a single corpse. She stared at the fruit and had a bird's eye view of the entire country, but she didn't find any creatures, shadows. Ignore this first, look for the scarlet stone first. Qinyang said calmly. It's just that although this country is small, it's not easy to find it. Robin whispered. It's okay, come with me. Qinyang jumped lightly and jumped directly onto a ruined building. After a few leaps, he flew across the sky and headed towards a forest of whales outside the city. The so-called whale forest refers to a huge tree whose trunk resembles a whale. The scarlet stone, right there, if it hadn't been taken away. Seeing this, Robin nodded and said to the 2 Violet, you wait for a while, I will go with the special envoy. dazzling 100 blossoms, illusory wings. Between the words, she crossed her hands in front of Shang, and the next moment, countless arms grew out of her back, turning into a pair of gorgeous wings, flapping and quickly following Qin Yang's footsteps. Since joining Dream, she has never slackened in developing her own abilities. Although she rarely reveals to the outside world, her abilities have gradually matured. Soon, Qinyang and the two flew to the whale tree and found a tree hole on it. Step into it from the stairs, go deep, and when you reach the bottom, you will see a red square stone. This is the Scarlet Stone. Qinyang's eyes flashed, and he said a little surprised, the people who destroyed this country didn't take the Scarlet Stone with them. Isn't that person found? Robin was equally surprised. No, even with a blanket search, it should be found within 2 or 3 days. It seems that there are other reasons, or that person just took the rubbings. Qinyang guessed, then shook his head, anything is fine, it has nothing to do with us. Robin, can you understand? Okay, can I watch it now? Nicole Robin was full of anticipation, and at the same time as she spoke, she was already looking at it. After a while, she said, this stone is called the History of the Route, and it records a voyage. If there is a chart, it can probably mark a specific place. It should be true. Very good. The first piece is in hand, ready to print a copy. Qinyang, Vivi Isho, said with satisfaction, there are still 3 pieces left. The piece in the hands of Big Mom is easy to solve, and the piece in the world government needs a lot of work. The 4th piece, maybe in the hands of Kaido, maybe in the hands of the Beastmaster, and possibly Wano-kuni. We have to eliminate them one by one. It won't be long before we have all 4 road signs. Hearing this, Nicole Robin blinked and said doubtfully, why can you be sure that it is in the hands of the world government? Charlotte Linlin's hands is certain. The 4th piece, originally in Wano-kuni's hands, is still in the hands of Wano-kuni. If it is not, the Beastmaster took it, or it was hidden by Kaido. Only the world government, Robin failed to understand. Isn't it? Qinyang asked back. 20 years ago, your hometown O'Hara was destroyed. The historical text that Marine took from you is not the Red Stone. No, it's just an ordinary historical text that records a piece of history. Scholars infer from this that an ancient country once existed. Robin opened his mouth and said helplessly. Qinyang was stunned, with a speechless expression on his face. Why didn't you say it earlier? It seems that my inference is wrong. Apart from the known 3 pieces, the whereabouts of the 4th piece are unknown. Sengoku directly later, he might have some information. Anyway, let's rub a copy first. Chapter 0371_shocked. Having obtained the first red stone rubbing, Qinyang's purpose of this trip has been achieved. Although it is different from the expected process, the result is correct. Let's go back to Mysteria first, and meet the new man. Qinyang put away the rubbings, stared deeply at the historical stone monument, then turned and left. Don't you take the stone tablet? Robin asked suspiciously. With the rubbing, this steel is useless, let's go. Yes. Immediately, the two left together, and after returning to the town, they greeted Violet and the two, and then returned to the boat under the belly of the giant elephant of Zou. I have to thank you for your eyes this time. Qinyang said, I will send you back to Dressrosa later. After that, the boat started and slowly left. At the same time, right in front of the giant elephant Zou, outside the foggy sea, a pirate ship was docked. Captain Ryan, the general situation is like this. I encountered the Dream Accelerator, and the mission failed. In the captain's room of the Beeman, Lego reported the mission to the phone bug. Really, since it's Accelerator, it's understandable that you can't beat it. On the other end of the phone came a low, hoarse male voice. However, they were too arrogant. I asked him to join hands and only asked for a rubbing, but they were all rejected. Leger was extremely annoyed. Next, Captain, what should I do? They have that strength, it's understandable. However, the rubbing book still has to be obtained. The voice on the other end of the phone said, we don't have a single red stone rubbing book in our hands, since that woman Charlotte has rejected my kindness. Then change the way you go to find the fourth unknown red stone. Is there any news? Lai Jie looked startled. At present, of the 4 scarlet stones, only 3 can be determined in the hands of which force, and no one knows where the last one is. In the hands of an old immortal, thanks to the dream that destroyed the kingdom of Sky Island, I found a trace of it. The voice let out a low laugh. Tisk tisk tisk, you go to the first half of the Great Route, go to the fallen Sky Island, and find a man dressed as a priest. The 4th red stone is most likely in his hands. Father. Lego was confused, and had never heard of such a character. Of course you don't know, that's a character from more than 20 years ago. Don't ask too much, and as soon as possible, lest Dream be the first to do it. Yes. At the end of the call, Lage's eyes flashed and he snorted coldly. This time, I don't believe that I can meet by chance. Faku, turn the bow and go to the Sea of Paradise. Understood, Captain Leger. Just as Qinyang was on his way back to Mysteria, in the fallen Sky Island, the Straw Hats were captured. K is greater than or equal to. Your monkey D. Luffy. That's right. I looked at the group of people in front of him, and the old god opened his mouth. Gee. Uncle, who are you? Know me? Straw Hat Luffy looked puzzled. This middle-aged man who suddenly stood in front of them was extremely powerful, and he knocked down everyone except him. Zoro, Usopp, Chopper, Nami, 5 of them couldn't even react and were beaten to the ground, but he was the only one who hadn't been attacked. Of course I know you, the D.S., the grandson of Garp. Priest scratched his head and said to himself, this is a headache. I'm not good at taking action against you, otherwise, the old guy Garp will be endless. Garp, Sanji said with an ugly face, lying on the ground. You don't know who your captain is. The priest said with interest. Garp, marine hero, was vice admiral decades ago. At his peak, he was a master of the 4 emperors. What? All the Straw Hat members looked surprised. So you know Grandpa. Straw Hat Luffy put down his hostility. Why are you suddenly attacking us? It's because. The priest was about to explain when suddenly, his eyes narrowed and he looked into the distance. Luffy, stay away from him. A voice full of energy came, and the next moment, a figure approached at a high speed, punching with majestic momentum, suddenly hitting the priest. Seeing this, the priest swiftly retreated back, and at the same time said loudly, I haven't seen you for many years, Garp, I didn't expect you to come here. HMPH, I didn't expect you to be dead. Garp missed the shot, he snorted angrily. This time I took a long vacation and was going to go back to East Blue, and happened to learn about Luffy on the way. As he said that, he suddenly looked at the Straw Hat and shouted, Luffy, this old man wants to train you to become a marine. Regardless of you for a while, you will go out to sea and form a pirate team. You idiot. I don't want to be marine, I want to be the man of One Piece, king of pirates. Straw Hat Luffy snorted, Grandpa, what are you doing? What am I doing here? If I don't come, will I wait to collect your body? Garp raised his fist and punched the Straw Hat's head. Next time, remember to distinguish the strength of your opponent, and ask me to teach you a few times. Who is this guy, do you know? Who is it? The name is, CG, the cruel pirate of Roger's era, the remnant of the previous era. When Roger conquered the Great Route, he suddenly disappeared. The bounty at that time was 1.44 billion. Hearing this, the Straw Hats were stunned. At a time when the Straw Hat reward is only 100 million, a bounty of more than 1.4 billion is simply an unimaginable existence for them. Cruelty. The priest smiled and said, I have been repenting for many years. I have understood the true meaning of life, and I have been repenting all the time. Every morning I recite scriptures and pray for world peace. Having said this, he paused, and then said seriously, Garp, you are right to retreat now. For the sake of past friendship, I will tell you a special piece of information. Be careful of the vice captain of the Beastmaster Pirates. That man is far more dangerous than I am. Company Captain. Garp frowned. Do you know who he is? Priest murmured softly. You don't know, you know nothing about him except his name. Bastard, who the hell is he? Who knows, figure it out for yourself. Priest said cheerfully. This Sky Island is my territory, you all leave. A few days later, the dissemination of a news shocked countless people. The former Marine Marshal Sengoku the Buddha, after quitting Marine, joined the Fantasy Pirates and officially became a member of the Pirates in 4.0. When this subversive information came out, countless people were shocked, wondering if the world had gone wrong. What a joke. Former Marshal Marine became a pirate. Ha 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 ha, there is a limit to joking. Decent person like Sengoku will become a pirate. And join a fantasy. Fake news. Fake can't be fake anymore. At this moment, the decent person who countless people are talking about, Sengoku the Buddha, is standing in front of Chinyang with a complicated look on his face. This complexity includes hatred, murderous intent, curiosity, helplessness, entanglement and so on. After a long time, he sighed. You released the news. That's right. Chinyang admitted generously and said playfully, are you surprised? I am not happy, but I was shocked. Chapter-362 announce the world. There is no joy, but the weight of surprise is enough. The former Marine Marshal joined the fantasy, which is quite incredible. It is incredible that people who heard the news, the first reaction, thought it was false information. Is it necessary for you to do this? Sengoku shook his head and said, even if you don't deliberately spread the news, it will spread sooner or later. He. Chinyang sat on the sofa with Erlang's legs crossed and his head held in his hands. He said leisurely, this is a dream branch. How did you feel after staying here for a few days? Very ordinary organizational structure. Sengoku replied calmly, unsmiling. It's very loose. The people who are in charge of the day-to-day affairs are Doflamingo and Nicole Robin, the main fantasy members are rare. Chinyang laughed and said, you haven't entered the core layer of fantasy, of course you can't see it, all you can see are the peripheral organizations. I won't gossip with you, this meeting is in the capacity of a special envoy to make some description. Pause, he said. First of all, it doesn't matter what purpose you join Dream for. Lord Chin Emperor 15 agrees, that is Dream's highest will. From now on, you will be a full member of Dream, with the same status as Nicole. Robin. There are currently 3 indigenous members of this world, Sengoku and Robin are full members, and Doflamingo is a reserve member. However, soon, Doflamingo will also be upgraded to a full member. At that time, the 3 of you will jointly manage the branch here. Hearing this, Sengoku couldn't help but ask, it seems that the new members are treated differently from the rest of your fantasy members. We are more like managers than the core layer of fantasy. He was referring to people like Ibaraki, Shadow Demon, and Uchiha Itachi. Also as full members of the Dream, these people rarely manage day-to-day affairs. So, you haven't entered the core layer yet. Chinyang grinned. Have you forgotten the characteristics of our Dream members? Everyone has 5 layers of seals on them, but the 3 of you don't. So that's it. Sengoku understood, and there was a hint of enlightenment in his heart. It seems that if you want to understand the Dream in depth, you must first get in with the core members, otherwise you won't be able to get in touch with many secrets. Next, I'll ask you a question, please answer it well. Chinyang looked directly at Sengoku and said, 4 red stones, 1 in Zouwu, 1 in Wanokuni, 1 in Charlotte Linlin's hands, the 4th one is in the hands of Charlotte Linlin. Where? What do you know? In the hands of the world government. Hearing this, Sengoku shook his head. No, the world government doesn't have the Scarlet Stone. He answered calmly. In Chinyang's view, Sengoku either didn't know, or the government really didn't have the red stone. It's a little troublesome, let me think about it. Chinyang pondered for a moment. In the absence of any clues, if you want to calculate the location of the 4th red stone, even the all-knowing and all-powerful star can't do it. If only 3 red stones can form a triangle on the map, and Rahudal must be on the 3 sides of this triangle. In other words, if it is not too troublesome, the coordinates of the 3 red stones can already be narrowed down to a certain area. Having said that, since the person who made the scarlet stone made 4 pieces back then, there must be a reason for him to have 4 pieces. Therefore, the method of narrowing down the area and the method of carpet search has a low success rate. I still have to find the 4th piece. However, there is no information at present, and the intelligence organization under Doflamingo has not obtained any information. In this way, I can only offer a reward. Thinking of this, Chinyang immediately said to Sengoku, "You just joined Dream, now I'll give you your first mission." Related to the red stone, Sengoku said solemnly. "That's right. You sent a notice to the world through the news and newspapers. Anyone who has clues and information about the Scarlet Stone can exchange for rewards with Dream. What Chinyang has to do is very simple, inform the world and let more people help him find it. Under the reward, there must be a brave man." "What's the reward?" Sengoku nodded and asked. "The reward is too low, or if it's just money, the probability of success is not high. Remuneration, you have someone write it like this." Chinyang grinned. 10 billion Bailey's wealth, or status and power, I can make him the king of a country, but I won't provide protection, or strength, it can make people quickly have superhuman strength, and finally, it is a wish under limited conditions. Choose one of the 4, what do you think? I think there will be a bunch of news soon, fake news. Sengoku is speechless. With such a generous reward, it won't be long before all kinds of information will appear like snowflakes. It's up to the 3 of you to distinguish between true and false. Chinyang waved his hand and said, "Go ahead, I look forward to your good news. You must pay attention to the specific documents that are announced to the world, and you must not fall into the prestige of dreams." What kind of prestige do dreams need now? Every record is the best halo of glory. Sengoku turned and left the room. As soon as he left, Chinyang transformed into a shadow demon. 1 month has come, and it's time to collect the fruit of Blackbeard. After collecting the fruit, go to Wanokuni, Cake Island, to get the 2nd red stone. Thinking of this, Chinyang closed his eyes and his consciousness appeared in the starry sky map. Locked on the star point representing Blackbeard, Chinyang's consciousness was immersed there, and the next moment, the sky was spinning and the scene was changing. When he reappeared, he had come to a new place. This is the Sea of the Forbidden Zone, the most dangerous sea area in the world in front of the Whitebeard Sea. The ocean is like boiling lava, bubbling constantly. Blackbeard's pirate ship is struggling to navigate this piece of boiling water. "It's so hot," said the champion Burgess, shirtless and sweating profusely. "Captain, what's going on in this hell? The ocean is boiling." "Zia ha 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 cough cough." Blackbeard laughed and coughed again and again. "Speak less, the body's water consumption is too fast, but you will die. This is the sea of boiling water, Suddenly, his expression changed and he turned around abruptly. There, a completely dark figure, quietly. Shadow Demon. Several members of the Blackbeard pirates exclaimed in unison, and then all looked alert. Chinyang glanced around and said, "January is over, hand over the fruits." "Wait." Blackbeard frowned. "We'll be there soon. We don't have time to get there this month." "Pause," he explained. "This sea of boiling water is more serious than before, and it is more difficult to navigate. You can see what is going on." Hearing this, Chinyang was noncommittal. His eyes turned to the ocean, and his perception probed into the depths. This sea is very strange. It is like a cauldron on a fire, and a ship is the food sailing in the cauldron. Huh. Suddenly, Chinyang's eyes narrowed, and in his perception, a huge black shadow was rising rapidly from under the sea. "Come on." As soon as the voice fell, boom. The whole ship Vivi was shaken, and it quickly took off into the air. No, not vacated, but lifted up by a behemoth. "This is..." Blackbeard's face changed greatly, and he blurted out, "Trouble." It's the Dragon King Whale. A group. Dragon King Whale, a supergiant sea king with an adult body length of more than 3,000 meters, can easily set off a tsunami that destroys the world when it is active in groups. Compared to the panic of the Blackbeard pirates, Qin Yang seemed extremely calm. He stood on the edge of the boat and stared at the sea. Interesting, they were driven here. Chapter-363-Flood, Water Monkey. Interesting, they were driven here. Qin Yang looked at the sea area in front of him, and he could see huge Dragon King whales cruising here in groups. The number of whales is more than 20 and stretches for more than 10 kilometers. This is the Dragon King whale group, which is the two major marine overlords of the New World together with the Sun whale. Lafayette's face was dignified, and he was a little nervous. Unlike the peaceful nature of the Sun whale, the Dragon King whale is very violent. Captain, let's run quickly, or we will be targeted. How to run? Blackbeard was silent. He couldn't fly. In this vast sea, he couldn't run away, he could only kill. Ziahaha, it's a terrifying sea of restricted areas. The probability of encountering a Dragon King whale is the same as picking up a devil fruit when you go out. He laughed dryly, looked at Qin Yang, and said, Shadow Demon, why don't you summon your ocean ruler? Let him solve this. Hearing this, Qin Yang glanced at him and suddenly smiled. You were right. Huh. Blackbeard was startled. He just said casually. I saw the shadow demon raise his hands high and muttered in his mouth. The next moment, black smoke billowed and rose into the sky, forming a dark vortex door. The center of this door is like a cosmic vortex, revolving around, extremely mysterious. Suddenly, a dragon roar resounded, and the dragon head sprang out of the door first, followed by the dark dragon body, and while twisting, the figure of the sea dragon suddenly appeared. Roar. Long yin bursts. A huge dragon might shock the sea. Normally, when an ordinary creature hears the roar of a dragon, it will crawl to the ground in fright and tremble. But the Dragon King whale is different. The reason why the Dragon King whale is called the Dragon King whale is because this huge whale is rumored to be the natural enemy of the dragon of the Dragon Island, in its recipe. Hearing the dragon's roar at this moment, the whale group made a deep and distant sound of whale roar. Blackbeard's face darkened and he shouted, Damn, giant dragons and Dragon King whales are natural enemy creatures, you actually summoned a sea dragon. The whale group was obviously provoked, and more than 20 Dragon King whales all stared at the sea dragon circling in the sky. Shadow Demon haha Isho, you think I don't know? Idiot. The reason why Lord Sea Dragon was shot is because these whales were driven away. No, the statement of driving may not be right, it should be said to be an order or manipulation. What? Blackbeard looked puzzled. Why do you judge like this? Shut up. Heilong spit out words. His dragon eyes glanced at Blackbeard, and said, If you don't deliver the fruit within today, then prepare to die. After that, the sea dragon ignored Blackbeard and looked down at a group of Dragon King whales. The largest group of whales is nearly 4,000 meters long, comparable to a small island, and the smallest is more than 1,000 meters long. However, it's strange. Just now, I was shocked by the dragon's roar, and I was ignored. It really was controlled by someone, right? Heilong secretly said in his heart. The effect of his dragon power on humans is similar to that of Conqueror Haki, but for marine creatures, it is Tianwei, which is different from the dragon of Dragon Island. This group of whales is not deterred by the dragon, and it is obvious that someone is manipulating them. At this moment, more than a dozen of the angered whales immediately dived under the sea, and a moment later, a huge wave was lifted. The huge wave was hundreds of meters high, carrying hundreds of millions of tons of water, and it was so mighty that it covered the sky and slapped towards the sea dragon. Seeing this, Heilong did not retreat but advanced, facing the monstrous waves. With a flick of the dragon's tail, the whole body looks like an arrow, breaking through the huge waves in an instant and through directly into the whale group. Roar. The sound of the dragon's roar sounded again, and the next moment, the sea dragon's body swelled rapidly. 200 meters, 500 meters, 1,000 meters, 3,000 meters, 5,000 meters, 10,000 meters. In a short period of time, the sea dragon has turned into a 10,000-meter dragon, and his body rolled up, directly rolling up the largest dragon king whale. Vivi pulled back, the leader of the dragon king whale group, and immediately let out a painful roar. "Tell me, who is controlling you?" Heilong said in a cold voice. "If no one is controlling, I will give you 10 courage, and don't dare to bark at Benlong." "Cough Gua, forgive me." A series of interjections sounded in Heilong's mind, and finally turned into a plea for mercy. "It's not impossible to spare you. Answer Benlong's question first, otherwise, I will slaughter your family immediately." "It's a water monkey, a human being, a devil fruit person," the Whale King replied. "Water monkey. Zone mythical ape fruit water monkey form." The Whale King was strangled to death by the sea dragon, and repeatedly begged for mercy. He calls himself a flood disaster. Flood. The last of the 3 major disasters, the flood monkey. Heilong raised his eyebrows. 9 years ago, he had seen locust plagues and droughts, but he had never seen floods. He didn't expect to hear the name of floods today. At the beginning of the Sabayati Archipelago War, the flood did not appear. I am afraid that Kaido expected that he might be killed, so he put the flood on standby. In other words, Kaido was still alive and was rescued by his subordinates. Heilong pondered in his heart, and felt that the guesses should be inseparable from 10. "Very well, Benlong can spare you from dying, but you take me to where the water monkeys are," Heilong ordered. "No problem." The Whale King agreed without hesitation. Blackbeard and the others in the distance were dumbfounded. How could the ferocious Dragon King Whale group be so obedient? The ruling cadres, all of them are really scary, Blackbeard secretly said, and like Heilong, there are 10 dreams. Unless it is a last resort, we must not be enemies with them. At the same time, in the center of the sea of boiling water, there is an uninhabited island. On this dead island, there are no creatures on it, and all the plants have died because of the hot temperature. The whole island was dead. In the center of the island, there was a volcano. At the edge of the crater, there was a staircase leading down to the red magma below. At this moment, above the stairs, a thin-looking man stepped down the stairs. As he was walking, at the end of the stairs, a tall man stopped in front of him. That was Drought Jack. "What's wrong?" "A group of Dragon King whales I controlled lost contact. It should have encountered some external stimulus. It may have encountered the Whitebeard pirates, or some other strong." The thin monkey-like man's voice was sharp. "The captain is still practicing." "Well, if you're okay, don't bother," Drought said. "As for the whales that lost contact, your ability is still unreliable as always. Go and practice hard. After 9 years, the dream has returned. Sooner or later we will their vengeance." "That said, but I have a bad feeling." The flood monkey shook his head and looked at the schist lava behind Jack. "I always feel that something bad is going to happen." Magma. Kaido was topless, immersed in the magma. Suddenly, he suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes were like fire, and they were extremely hot. "There's a guest here." Chapter 0374 The worst alliance ever. I checked a lot of information, and finally chose the Man-Demon clan, because of the grievances between Kaido and Wano-kuni, Japan, and the hostile relationship with Momonosuke. In Japanese legends, there is, Momotaro beats ghosts, and the ghost's weapon is a mace, and Kaido's weapon happens to be a mace, so the text is set as the Man-Demon family. As for Kaido's devil fruit, he should have eaten the fruit. As for what it is, based on the tattoos, laughter, pirate flag and other details, it will be written soon. Close black lens bracket. 0. There's a guest here. The red lava. Kaido suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes were like fire, like a furnace, and he looked at each other as if he would be burned. It was a pair of blood-red eyes that were burning like flames. "Captain, what did you say?" Drought turned to look, and saw Kaido coming up from the center of the lava pool. The surface of his body was covered with a layer of strange scales, and the magma slowly slipped from his scales. This scene looked extremely terrifying. Kaido walked out of the magma pool, the scales on his body quietly disappeared. There are dozens of breaths approaching, and one of them is an old friend. The laughter, Kaido pushed Drought Jack away, stepped up the stairs, and said, "You two, come with me." Hearing that, the Drought and the Flood looked at each other, obviously a little confused about this old friend. And their observation haki radiates out, but in the perception distance 077, it is far less vast than Kaido, so there is nothing to gain. However, although it is not perceptible, it can be judged from Kaido's tone that, old friend, is obviously not a friend. Thinking about it this way, 9 times out of 10 it's a dream. I actually found this place. Drought shook his heart. Impossible, this place is Dragon King Whale. He suddenly remembered what Flood had said, and his eyes suddenly stared at Flood. Obviously, Hong Xian also thought of this, and suddenly showed an ugly expression. This island is quite special. It is as difficult for ordinary people to find it as it is to go to the sky, but the Dragon King Whale can. With the Dragon King Whale leading the way, Dream can indeed easily find it here. Follow. Hong Jin gritted his teeth and immediately followed. Soon, the 3 of them climbed to the top of the volcano one after another. Before the 2 of them could stand firm in the drought, a sound of dragon roar resounded in the sky from above the 9 heavens. The 3 of them raised their heads in unison, and saw that above the sky, far away, a dragon shadow broke through the clouds and came flying. "I am the master of the ocean, Kaido, you are alive." Sea Dragon flew to the top of the volcano and looked down at the 3 people below. "Ooh," Kaido grinned, looked up at Heilong, and said, 9 years gone, Heilong. Seeing you reminds me of the war 9 years ago. Emperor Qin is indeed a super strong man. Even I thought I was going to die, but I didn't expect I still didn't die." Hearing this, Heilong was very calm, turned his eyes and looked at the 2 of the drought disaster. "This thin guy is the flood disaster. Ha ha ha, your luck is really bad. The Dragon King Whale group you control encounters this dragon, otherwise you will think about it. It's really hard to find this island. This island is a dead island. It is located in the middle of boiling water. The center of the sea is surrounded by water vapor, like a fog. If there is no one to guide the way, it is indeed very troublesome to find. Plus even if we investigate from the sky, what we can see is a huge layer of white mist and steam floating on the sea surface, and the island itself cannot be seen." Hearing this, Hong Xian's face darkened. Kaido laughed and said, "It doesn't matter, you will find it sooner or later. I knew from the news of your return. I didn't expect it to be a little earlier. Ben Long is very curious, how did you survive?" Without waiting for the other party's answer, Heilong guessed to himself, "When Lord Qin slapped you to the bottom of the sea with one palm, even Whitebeard would have to die, but you could live. That means that even if you don't breathe for a long time, also survive." Quote. Kaido is known as the strongest creature in the world, and Marine caught him many times, but failed to kill him. Even if he is hanged, the chains will be torn off. Even if he is guillotined, he will be able to smash the guillotine, and even if he is stabbed by a long spear, it will end in the rupture of the spear. In the same way, even if it sinks to the bottom of the sea, it can escape safely. Ouch, vomit. Kaido chuckled softly, "Don't guess, I'll tell you directly." Oh, Heilong raised his eyebrows, quite interested. "In Sabayati Archipelago, when I first met you, you said that the former demon Oz had horns similar to mine, and from this, you judge that Oz and I have the same bloodline." Quote. Kaido smiled and said lightly, "You're right. But it's not the demon, you said, but the man-demon. I am the last man-demon in the world." Man-demon clan. Sea Dragon looked curious. "I've never heard of it. There are hundreds of races in this world, but I've never heard of the man-demon race. Is it because you're the only one left?" Of course you haven't heard of it, and even Marine doesn't know it, and only some clues are mentioned in the records of some confidential documents of the world government. Kaido sneered. "They are afraid, the man-demons are born warriors, the powerful man-demons are infinitely powerful and invincible in defense, and I am the king of the strongest man-demons for hundreds of years, so I'm almost immortal. Whether it's poison, beheading me, or falling from a height of 10,000 meters, I have tried countless ways to die, and no one can kill me. The Qin Emperor's time was the closest to my death. Once. With such a strong race, why are you the only one left? Heilong asked casually, but he knew that the other party would not answer, and then said, "It seems that the Devil Oz is a hybrid of the Giant Clan and the Man-Demon Clan." Ouch, vomit. Kaido let out a low laugh again. Sea Dragon, I know you guys suddenly started collecting red stones. Let me tell you directly, the tragedy of the furry principality was done by myself. It turned out to be you as I guessed. Heilong nodded, so it made sense. That is the destructive power that can only be caused by the four emperors. Like the three disasters, or the two monsters under the Beast King's command, they can't do that. Cleanly, wiped out a small country in almost one blow. It seems that you have a rubbing of the red stone in your hand. Yes, I have a rubbing in my hand, and a red stone steel. Kaido's eyes were stern, just a sea dragon, and said, "Don't think about robbing it. I put it in a place where you can't find it, but I can share it with you." Huh. Heilong's expression was startled, and he always felt that Kaido 9 years later had changed a lot from Kaido 9 years ago. "I can share with you, not only sharing, I can also tell you where the other two stells are." Kaido continued, "The third stone tablet is in the hands of Big Mom. With your abilities, you can easily get it. And the fourth stone tablet is in the hands of the world government. No, to be precise, in the World Conference. How about it? Why don't we join forces to seize the fourth stone tablet in the hands of the government, and then go to Lahudal together to unlock the great secret treasure, so as to destroy this boring world?" Heilong was too lazy to listen to the latter words. He mainly focused on the words, World Conference. "What do you mean, World Conference? Be more specific." "Join us. Let the past grievances be put aside first. As long as we join forces to turn the World Conference upside down, the fourth Scarlet Stone will naturally be available. How to do it, I can only wait for Emperor Qin to agree." "Tell you. What do you want to do?" Heilong narrowed his eyes. "This world is too boring, and without your dreamy 9 years, it's even more boring. Since it's so boring, it's better to destroy it. Vomit, that's more interesting." Kaido laughed wildly, his eyes blazing and blood red. On the surface of his body, some black scales began to appear. These scales were similar to the dragon scales of the sea dragon, but they were different. Seeing this scene, Heilong pondered for a while, and immediately smiled. "Yes, as long as your information is correct," Benlong agrees. Chapter 0375_Worst of Times. The two most vicious organizations in history have joined forces. If the world government finds out about this news, I'm afraid it will be sleepless at night. However, you tell Benlong first. What does the World Conference mean?" Suddenly, Heilong spoke again. "It's very simple. The world government has hidden the fourth red stone somewhere in the World Conference venue." Kaido said in a low voice, "The hidden point needs a key to open, and there are several such keys, which are in the hands of several powerful countries and the world government Gorosei, 5 elders." "Is the information reliable?" Heilong pondered in his heart, and believed this for the time being. "Can't we snatch it directly? Need to wait for the World Conference to start?" Heilong asked back. "The next World Conference will be in 2 years. I don't have the mood to wait." "No, it's early." Kaido grinned. "Because of your sudden return, the world government will open the World Conference 2 years in advance for you. The main topic is to unite the countries of the world, form a world coalition, and destroy the dream. Vomit the whole world. Only your dreams can force the world government to do this." Quote. "That's an honor." Heilong pouted inwardly. There are more than 170 member countries in the world government of the United Kingdom. Of course, that was before. Because of the actions of the Revolutionary Army in recent years, these member countries have dropped sharply to less than 150. To deal with the Revolutionary Army, there is not such a big battle, in order to deal with the dream, even at the expense of mobilizing the allied countries all over the world. Kaido continued. More than a month ago, Emperor Qin appeared in East Blue Loga Town. After the government got the news, it has decided to start the World Conference. So that's the case, but how do you know the secret information of the world government? This, Kaido's smile narrowed. 9 years ago, the 4 emperors Kaido pirates fell apart. After I survived, I did not form it again, but cultivated some new people. Among them, within the government, there was my undercover agent. Heilong nodded clearly. No wonder this guy has been disappearing, but he still knows so much. If that's the case, then at the World Conference, sweep everyone away. Speaking of this, Heilong paused for a moment, pondered for a while, and said, the enemy is 150 countries, and we will start a war with them. Fortunately, let's pull in Big Mom as well. The woman who is determined to consolidate her marriage and expand her power will participate in this kind of action. Kaido said dismissively. I said she would, and she would. Heilong was too lazy to explain. Anyway, she also has a red stone in her hand. Let her take it out. She must be unwilling to let her join the action. How about it? No problem, as long as it doesn't hold you back. Kaido nodded and said, the World Conference will be held after March, on the top of the Red Soil continent. Before that, I have to make some preparations in advance. As you please. Sea Dragon was too lazy to care about what the other party was going to do. The reason why he agreed with Kaido's proposal was that on the one hand, it was for the 4th red stone, and on the other hand, it was natural to use the power of countermeasures to destroy the world government. Anyway, when the time comes, if Tenryubito really sacrifices a national treasure, there will also be a reckless man named Kaido in front of him as cannon fodder. Just thinking about it, Kaido threw out a rubbing and said, this is the rubbing of the stone tablet in my hand. According to the agreement, I will share it with you. We will contact you again after 3 months. Aren't you afraid that Benlong will go back after taking something? Heilong chuckled lightly. You are the ruling cadre, and you go back on your word on the spot. Do you have the face to do it yourself? Kaido laughed, turned away, and walked down the volcano. In the past, the relationship between our two sides was bad. It was a matter of position. I personally you dream, show admiration. See you after March. Heilong watched the 3 of them leave, and waited until the other party walked out of the volcano and left the island in a small boat before he quietly retracted his gaze. Have you died once, so your personality has changed a lot? Shaking his head, Chinyong didn't think too much about it for the time being. I started with the 2nd copy of the Red Stone, and the next one is the one from Big Mom. 3 months later, the World Conference. World Conference. At that time, the world government will unite 150 member countries to face the alliance of the most evil forces of Dream, Kaido and Big Mom. Sabayati Archipelago 9 years ago, the scene after March is afraid to change history. Thinking like this, Heilong put away the rubbings, and with a flick of his tail, he flew into the air. Meanwhile, the world government. In the high-level meeting of the building, the 4 Gorosei 5 elders had solemn expressions and sat behind the long table, staring at the man in front of them. The man was in his 50s with a grim face. He was the new commander-in-chief of the army after Kong's death. He has been in office for 8 years now. How's it going? The old man with a face with a Chinese character asked. Everyone has been contacted, and all countries have indicated that they will participate. The World Conference in 3 months' time can be held as scheduled. The man replied calmly. Didn't leak the issue out. No, just tell the World Conference will be ahead of schedule. The man's eyes flashed with disdain. If you say something fantastic, I'm afraid half of the country will be too scared to come. I don't know who is protecting them. It makes sense. After all, no one wants to fight against that kind of terrorist organization. Perverse old man sighed and said, however, just in case, you have to be prepared to use the national treasure. But Tenryubito sighed. Another old man with a mustache mused, they don't necessarily agree. To find a way to get them to agree is nothing more than a matter of lifespan. The old man in the small hat snorted coldly, now I'll give you a task. Saying that, he threw the 2 wanted notices out. The man took it and took a look, and Vivi was startled. Trafalgar Law. Captain of the Heart Pirates. Bounty, 100 million. Jenny Bonnie. Captain of the Bonnie Pirates. Bounty, 88 million. Go and catch these 2 pirates. The old man with a small cap said solemnly, Luo is the one who has the ability to operate the fruit, as for the other must be caught alive. Understand? Jenny Bonnie. The man narrowed his eyes. After a while, he smiled and said, I know, I will go and arrest myself. It's just 2 little pirates. Before the World Conference, it must be done. Don't be careless, the abilities of the 2 are quite special. The perverted old man pondered for a moment, and finally gave a special evaluation. Understood, then I'll go first. With that said, the man took the warrant and turned to leave. Watching the man walk away, the old man with the mustache sighed and looked at the other 3 Gorosei, 5 elders. I hope it goes well, so forget about Luo. After all, the fruit of the operation has been eaten, but Bonnie. This is the worst of times. If we can't get through this, we will become the most incompetent Gorosei, 5 elders this time, and become the sinners of history. Chapter 0376-Invite Whitebeard. At night, the bright moon hangs high. On a certain sea area in the New World, a ship sailed across the sea. The ship was flying a pirate flag, with 3 skulls on the flag and 6 bones at the bottom, which represented the Blackbeard pirates. At this moment, on the deck of the ship, the shadow demon was counting the number of devil fruits. 49. He said softly, his sharp eyes swept to Blackbeard, 1 less. I ate it. Blackbeard was silent for a moment, then said, it's the fruit of darkness. I'm waiting for something, not a penny. Ying Yao snorted coldly, either I will kill you now, or you will find a way to compensate for the price of 1 fruit. In fact, by now, a devil fruit is nothing, but how can something dreamy be so easy to get? Since Blackbeard dared to grab it, he would have to pay a price. Zia ha ha ha, that's really stingy. Blackbeard laughed dryly and said, then according to the agreement in the past, I will exchange 10 fruits for the dark fruits. However, I don't have that many now. I'll give you 3 months. After 3 months, I'll bring 10 fruits to my door. No problem. How dare Blackbeard disagree? He nodded decisively. At this moment, a black shadow appeared on the sea in front, and the sea dragon was swimming in the water. Seeing this, the shadow demon walked to the edge of the boat and jumped onto Sea Dragon's back. You have to do it yourself. If it is overdue, there will naturally be dominant cadres to chase and kill you. Leaving a warning, the Sea Dragon and the shadow demon floated away. On the deck, the faces of the Blackbeard pirates suddenly sank. Captain, this guy treats us as slaves. Burgess said angrily. Even if we handed over 10 fruits after 3 months, they will find other excuses and let me continue to buy their lives for them. I know, Blackbeard said with a solemn expression, what we lack is time. Let's go. Next, let's go look for new members. Not to mention the Blackbeard gang, Sea Dragon and Shadow Demon left together, leaving the sea of restricted areas. When the night passed and the sun rose from the sea level, the 2 had entered the Whitebeard waters. It's daytime, I'll dodge first. The Shadow Demon said to himself, carrying a box of fruits and disappearing in an instant. In the ocean, only Halong was left. Go to Cake Island first and get the 3rd red stone rubbing book, but let's change your identity for the time being. As soon as the thought moved, Halong's body suddenly began to shrink, and at the same time, a cold air gradually began to diffuse. After a while, Qinyang took the form of the Lich King. When the transformation was completed, the frost and cold air diffused away, freezing the sea surface. Qinyang stepped on the ice surface, and the next moment, raised 1 hand high. The power of the soul swarmed out and condensed above the head, forming a summon. Summon Ice Dragon Queen. Roar. A roar came out, and the next moment, a Frostbone Dragon appeared. Qinyang jumped to the top of the Ice Dragon Queen's head. Immediately afterwards, the Bone Dragon flapped its wings, and quickly flew towards the Whitebeard Sea area. Now that you're passing by, drop by to meet Whitebeard. Moreover, some time ago, Whitebeard's people also contacted Mysteria, hoping to meet Qin Emperor. Of course, Emperor Qin would not appear casually, so let the Lich King drop by. The Ice Dragon Queen was flying very fast, but after half a day, she had come to Whitebeard's territory. The Moby Dick was docked at the pier of this island. Qinyang came riding on a bone dragon, and was immediately seen by countless people and notified Whitebeard of the news. After a while, Qinyang came down on a highland square and saw Whitebeard and his subordinates. Compared with the past, the current Whitebeard's physical function has begun to degenerate. He is sitting on a large chair with 2 air tubes inserted between his nostrils. Ji la la la. Back then when Emperor Qin said, "The next time we meet, maybe it will be a long time later," I didn't expect this to be a long time. It turned out to be 9 years. Whitebeard grabbed the big jug beside him and threw it to Qinyang himself. He smiled and said, "The Lich King, Lord of the Earth, this is the best wine I have here. Only this gourd is for you." He. Qinyang chuckled. "Stop talking nonsense, Whitebeard, I know you have something to ask me to wait for, just tell me." Still so direct. Whitebeard waved his hand, causing everyone to the left and right to step back. Jozu and the others hesitated for a while, and finally chose to leave. Soon, in the entire square, only Qinyang and Whitebeard were left. The next moment, an observation hockey enveloped the two of them, and Qinyang immediately felt that the breath of the two of them was suppressed to the extreme, like a stone on the side of the road, silent. "This is observation hockey's advanced ability, Hermitage," explained Whitebeard. "What kind of conversation? Even your own subordinates have to hide it?" Qinyang asked curiously. "Come on, don't waste your time." "My body started to deteriorate dramatically," Whitebeard said calmly. "Since a year ago, I can feel that every moment. My strength is declining. I'm afraid I'm still a year or two away, and I'm dying." "Really?" Qinyang raised his eyebrows and sensed Whitebeard's state. "It's really bad. No matter how powerful people are, they can't escape from birth, old age, sickness and death. Not even sea dragons. Sea dragons have a lifespan of up to 1 million years, but they are also limited. Humans like Whitebeard are less than 100 years old. So what? There's a traitor on my ship. I remember you reminded me when I first met you in a dream, but I was too conceited to recognize Teach." Whitebeard sighed. "It's my fault that killed Thatch." Blackbeard. Qinyang's expression was flat, and he was very clear about this grievance. "I want you to do me a favor," Whitebeard said imploringly. "Please help find Blackbeard, and I'll kill him before I'm too old to wield a machete. For my children, stay a hope." If Whitebeard dies, Blackbeard grows bigger and becomes the new 4th emperor, then Whitebeard's remnants will be a nightmare, and they will definitely be liquidated and killed one by one. No, not only Blackbeard, but also many people who are eyeing the Whitebeard pirates don't mind coming to enjoy Whitebeard's corpse. Qinyang understood this very well. If one day, the dream perishes, so many flamenco, Robin and others, I am afraid it will be miserable. After all, behind fear is hatred. Thinking of this, Qinyang suddenly smiled. "I know where Blackbeard is, but I won't help you find him." 5.2. Hearing this, Whitebeard's face darkened. Qinyang continued. "As for your body, you are old and your function declines. This is just a small problem. I can restore you. I can't say that you will live forever, but there is no problem in living for decades." "What?" Whitebeard's eyes widened, startled. "Our Master of Life can do this kind of thing, but he has no time, so he can only find the Master of the Sky, the power of the holy light of the Archangel, to cure all diseases, and to give you life," so that you can enjoy spring. Qin Yangyu was not astonished and died endlessly. Whitebeard was completely stunned. He didn't expect such a thing to be a dream come true. Can you really do it? Are there conditions? He asked in a deep voice. Of course there are conditions, I'm not a charity organization. Qin Yang chuckled and said, there is only one condition, Whitebeard, as the master of the earth, I invite you to join the dream. Chapter 0377_Transformer of Fruit. The first update it seems that Kaido's ability setting has caused a lot of dissatisfaction, so I will think about it again. Close black lens bracket. Whitebeard, as the master of the earth, I invite you to join the dream. Qin Yang smiled lightly and issued an invitation. Hearing his conditions, Whitebeard was stunned, looked at Qin Yang seriously, and said after a while, what are you thinking about? How dare you invite me? He is a dying person, what do you invite him to join the dream? With the combat power shown by the organization Dream, the 4 emperors are abundant in them. Before Sengoku, I also joined your fantasy, and now it's me you guys, what do you want to do? Instead of rushing to refuse, Whitebeard asked back. The specific reason, you will know later. Qin Yang smiled and said, even if you join me, you are still the captain of the Whitebeard pirates. You can do whatever you want. All you need is to follow the orders of your dreams when necessary. I don't understand what you guys want to do, but I'm a dying person, and it's not worth your troubles. If you join the fantasy as you said, I can agree. Whitebeard gulps his drink, thinks for a moment, then nods in agreement. The biggest reason for agreeing is that 15 came from a group of his subordinates. If he really died, he could protect them by leaning on the big tree called Dream. As long as you agree. Then, I will contact the Archangel first and let him restore your physical function. Qin Yang pretended to communicate with the sky, and after a while, a holy light flashed in front of him. The holy light was projected, and it suddenly expanded in midair. Under the divine brilliance, the figure of the 6-winged Archangel was slowly revealed. Holy Radiance Blessing. The Archangel spread his 6 wings, and the holy light shone. Bathed in holy light, Whitebeard was surprised to find that his old body was gradually recovering, and his spirit was recovering quickly at a perceptible speed. What a powerful healing ability! He murmured in shock, and after 3 or 5 minutes, when the holy light dissipated, his skin was constantly flowing with golden light. In just a short time, he has recovered from a dying person to the peak state of his youth. The body is full of explosive power, as if a punch can overturn this sea. Whitebeard, your body has been restored. At this time, the Archangel said indifferently, but you have to pay attention to one thing. My holy light only restores your body and does not increase your lifespan, so when one day, when your lifespan is exhausted, your body will decline rapidly in a short period of time, maybe only a few minutes. At that time, you will suffer unimaginable pain, you have to be mentally prepared. Quote. Ji la 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 thank you, 2 Angel. Whitebeard suddenly tore off the needle from his body and stood up from the chair, raised the big bowl, and toasted Qin Yang and the 2 of them. Thank you for dreaming. Seeing this, Qin Yang took off the cork of the gourd, took a symbolic sip, and then said, you are already a member of the dream, so you don't need to thank me. I can give you some information first, and after 3 months, you will receive your first assignment. If you want to settle your grievance with Blackbeard, please do it well before that. Quote. After he finished speaking, he picked up the wine gourd and jumped onto the back of the Ice Dragon Queen. Then see you in March. As soon as he left, the surrounding Whitebeard cadres rushed over and looked at Whitebeard in disbelief. Dad, your body. I can't believe it, Daddy, you seem to be 20 years younger all of a sudden. What did you talk about with Dream just now? Their Archangel used holy light to heal. Looking at the group of subordinates, Whitebeard laughed twice. Ji la 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 Jozu, you bring Aces Vive Ricard, this island is temporarily handed over to you to guard. I'm going to find this bastard teach. Quote. Ice Dragon Queen left Whitebeard's territory. Qin Yang mourned for Blackbeard in his heart. The current Whitebeard's combat power is at its peak, stronger than 10 years ago. Blackbeard just eats the dark fruit. Even if he has the ability to double fruit, he will be beaten to the ground by Whitebeard. However, this matter has little to do with him. The feud between Whitebeard and Blackbeard, Dream is not interested in paying too much attention. Now with Whitebeard, Kaido, and later Big Mom, the three emperors join forces to attack the World Conference. I want to see, are you going to take out a national treasure? Chinyang smirked inwardly, pondering, and then he would have to contact the Revolutionary Army and get them to join in as well. At that time, all the forces of old friends in the whole world would be turned upside down in one breath, and then a new world, and new order, would be established in a dream. Sindragosa, go to Cake Island. Thinking of this, Chinyang immediately enriched the bone dragon sitting down. Yes, Lord Lich King. Just as Chinyang Yuzai was flying to Cake Island, there was a scientific research base floating on Sky Island somewhere in the New World. This is not Marine's scientific research base, but a personal domain. At this moment, in front of a mechanical gate, a coquettish man walked slowly. He walked to the door, and the metal ball inlaid on the door suddenly emitted blue light, and then the sphere cracked, undergoing a layer of high-precision mechanical changes, and finally turned into a robot. Scanning completed. The person here is Sky-Eye, Vio, one of the Shichibukai of the king, with a bounty of 390 million. Sir Robert, do you want to open the door? Seeing this scene, Vio sneered and said, it's really the same, playing with some machines. If it weren't for my special abilities, it would not be easy to find this floating sky island. This floating sky island is very small, the area is only the size of a football field, it is an island to say that it is lifted. After hearing Vio's words, there was a squeak of laughter from the communicator on the door. Who was I at the time? It was you. Why don't you come to me as your Shichibukai? Don't pretend to be stupid. Some time ago, the Dreamy Accelerator made a big noise in the Marine headquarters and destroyed the Marine building. You won't know about such a big event. Does it have anything to do with me? I don't deal with fantasy. Robert replied nonchalantly. They are collecting the red stone now. As the vice captain of the Beastmaster Pirates, aren't you nervous now? Vio snorted. Robert, those who transform fruit abilities, transform people. In a pirate group full of zone abilities, you deceive them and say that you have no fruit ability. I don't need to say this. Your Sky-Eye is really troublesome. I really want to transplant your ability to me. If you don't mind being an experimental subject, you can come in. Robert haha isho. As soon as the voice fell, the door opened immediately. I know that you have a deal with the Beastmaster Ryan. Your transformation ability can transform devil fruits. There was a Shichibukai back then, who seemed to be called Big Mark, and one of his subordinates was your experimental subject. Vio licked his tongue. I came to you today because I want you to help me transform. Now that the dream is back, I have a hunch that a big event is about to happen. Come in if you're not afraid of death. Chapter 0378 _ the third red stone. Week later, Big Mom Waters, Cake Island. There is no need for Chinyang to declare his family. The identity of the Lich King, the Master of the Earth, is easily recognized by everyone in the Big Mom Pirates. They invited Chinyang to a reception room, and then someone went to inform Charlotte Linlin. It's really different from the treatment when the Duke of Lake came last time. Sitting on the sofa, Chinyang couldn't help but chuckle twice. Just thinking about it, the door of the living room opened, and a girl with long brown hair, wearing a maid outfit, came in with tea. The girl had long wavy hair and a pair of ponytails. Her face was full of curiosity. She quietly walked to Chinyang's side and put the hot coffee in her hand on the table. Coffee please, Lich King. She said softly, and after putting down the coffee, she stood obediently to the side, staring curiously at Chinyang with big eyes. Covered in armor, only one pair of eyes exudes a faint blue light. Chinyang glanced at her, picked up the coffee, and slowly placed it in front of her mouth under the girl's expectant gaze. However, his movements stopped, and he suddenly said, "Are you curious?" The girl was startled, and quickly restrained her expression, pursed her lips and said, "You are a dreamy master of the land. Anyone would be curious about what kind of face you have under your helmet. I am also curious." Pause. She laughed again. "Vivi, you've been wearing the helmet, don't you feel bored? Should I take it off for you?" Saying that, the girl stretched out her left hand and slowly touched Qin Yang's helmet. In this regard, Qin Yang was unmoved, did not dodge, and let the opponent's palm touch him. Seeing that Qin Yang didn't seem to refuse, the girl was overjoyed, and the movements on her hands became faster and faster. However, just as she was about to touch this unique armor mask, the girl suddenly screamed as if she had been stabbed by a needle. When she took a few steps back, her left hand also retracted like lightning. "Ah!" she exclaimed. "What? He just because you want to slam the helmet. If you want to touch it, at least let your mother try it," Qin Yang said playfully, and put the coffee back on the table. "You." The girl's expression changed slightly. Just now what? The moment she was about to touch the helmet, an inexplicable force swallowed her, and she seemed to see hell, the roar of countless souls. "Stop pretending, I know who you are," Qin Yang said calmly. "Charlotte Pudding, Paramesha's memory fruit person, do you want to peep my memory?" Hearing this, the girl's face turned pale. "How did you recognize it?" "I've seen you when you were a child. Your soul aura, no matter how you pretend to be, can't fool my perception. Save it. Qin Yang is too lazy to pay attention to this little girl, let your mother come to see me." 7. Dao, hearing this, Pudding's face was uncertain. She was really curious about what kind of face was hidden under the Lich King's helmet, so she drank the original maid and went into battle in person, but she didn't expect it so easily seen through O Quan. She opened her mouth. She wanted to say something. The door was suddenly pushed open, and a fat woman walked in. "I am so sorry, Pudding, she doesn't understand." Charlotte Linlin apologized first when she entered the door. "The Lich King, what's the matter with you coming to see the old lady?" "Don't worry, I didn't care, otherwise, do you think she can still be alive now?" Qin Yang said lightly. "This is not a lie. In just a moment, if this little girl harbors a trace of malice, he has already turned the other party into an ice sculpture." Seeing this, Charlotte Linlin breathed a sigh of relief. Pudding was her favorite daughter, otherwise she would have wanted to teach her a lesson. The ruler of the earth has the power." Charlotte Linlin smiled and sat across the sofa. "What do you think of Pudding? If you like it, I can let her marry you." Charlotte Pudding, who was behind her, suddenly widened her eyes. Qin Yang curled his lips and said bluntly, "Save it, why do you still want to marry me? I won't talk nonsense with you. I came to you this time for two main reasons." Charlotte Linlin is very sorry for Qin Yang's rejection. Although she had a hostile relationship with Dream in the past, Dream is too strong and she has no ability to retaliate. Therefore, instead of conflicting with Dream, it is better to marry. For her, great benefits. As for Pudding's will, it doesn't matter. Go ahead. Taking a deep breath, Charlotte Linlin said solemnly, "If it's a devil fruit, I'm sorry, but now I don't have it in my hands." "It's not a devil fruit, it's a red stone." Qin Yang folded his arms and looked directly at each other, saying, "I need a rubbing of the scarlet stone in your hand. To tell you the truth, I have already had 2 rubbings in the hands of Dream, and yours is the 3rd. Rubbing. Charlotte Linlin narrowed her eyes. Not long ago, the Yinbei sent by the Beastmaster pirates asked her for a rubbing, but she did not give it because the other party's conditions were not satisfactory. And this time it was a Dream, and it was still the main cadre who came in person. Obviously, the ceremony was followed by the soldiers. If he refused, he was afraid that he would have to fight in the next second. "If you want a rubbing, the old lady can give it to you. But you also need to take out a rubbing and exchange it with the old lady." "No, I can give you 2 copies. Chin Yong smiled. What? Charlotte Linlin suspects that she has a problem with her ears. Did she take the initiative to give her an extra copy? Is the Lich King stupid? What do you mean? That's the second thing I have to say. Chin Yong didn't hide anything, and didn't bother to hide it. He said straight to the face, the 4th red stone is in the hands of the world government. After March, the government will hold a world conference, and the red stone will also appear. At that time, we will join forces with Kaido to capture the red stone. This bastard, Kaido, is indeed alive. Charlotte Linlin's eyes flickered. My mother has obtained some information before. However, you said that the 4th red stone is in the hands of the government. I don't believe this kind of words. Believe it or not, if you want to participate in this operation, you will share the red stone in your hand. If the 4th stone is really in the hands of the government, then we can all gather the 4 stones and get the Rahudal's key. The old god Chin Yong was there. Give you a minute to consider whether to join or not to join. Of course, no matter which one you choose, I must get the rubbings in your hands. Tuoban can give it to you. Charlotte Linlin did not hesitate, and immediately agreed to hand over the rubbing. However, whether to join or not, this is put aside for now. The information I got, the 4th stone, is in the hands of Beastmaster Ryan. Huh? Chin Yong was startled. I don't know if it's the Scarlet Stone, but the Beastmaster does have historical texts, at least 3 pieces. One of them is rumored to record the location of a certain ancient weapon. Chin Yong knew where the ancient weapons, the steles with the records of Pluto and Neptune were located, so it was calculated that it was the King of Heaven. Thinking of this, Chin Yong couldn't help but ponder for a moment. If this news is true, then, if you have a chance, you have to go to the Beastmaster to have a look. Chin Yong doesn't care about ancient weapons, but if someone else gets them, it will be quite troublesome. Immediately, he shook his head and said, I'm not interested in other things, I just need the Scarlet Stone. I'll give you 2 options. First, hand over the rubbing, but I won't give you any reward. Second, join the action, I will waiting to share 2 rubbings with you. Choose. How domineering. Charlotte Pudding thought to herself, but dreams do have this qualification. It seems that my mother can only choose the second one. Chapter 0379 _ more than 20 billion pirates. The 2 options given by Chin Yong, Charlotte Linlin could only agree to the second option after thinking for a few seconds. She was unwilling to hand over a rubbing in vain. Since this is the case, she is fortunate to join forces with Dream. If it is successful, she will be able to get 4 Scarlet Stones. Of course, with such a big reward, the risk is naturally high. The World Conference, but a super-large conference of the 150 member countries within the United Kingdom of the world government, will have a defense force that far exceeds that of the Marine headquarters. However, it had come to this point and she had to take risks. Thinking of this, Charlotte Linlin waved her hand and said, Pudding, go and fetch the red stone to Oban. Receiving the order, Charlotte Pudding went to act quickly. It didn't take long for Ligiette to follow along. She took out a rubbing from the dream world and gave it to Chin Yong. Very good. Chin Yong took the rubbing, then took out the 2 copies he was carrying, and threw them to Charlotte Linlin. The thing has already been given to you. As for the true and false, you can distinguish for yourself. After March, I will contact you again later, and you are ready. After speaking, Chin Yong put away his things, got up and was about to leave. Wait! Charlotte Linlin shouted. What's the matter? Silent for 667 minutes, she whispered. I have collected 4 red stones. There is no one here who can understand ancient writing. I am afraid that the only person in the world who can understand is your demon son. Quote. He. Chin Yong couldn't help laughing. Fortunately, he was wise and brought Nicole Robin in early, otherwise it would be even more troublesome to find someone who could understand the text temporarily. Thinking of this, he stepped out of the living room, and then a sentence floated. The coordinates will be given directly to you when the time comes, please rest assured. As soon as he left, Charlotte Pudding whispered, "Dream people, will they share it for free? I always feel that something is wrong." Indeed, according to their previous behavior, it is normal to offer compensation at this time. Lee Jayati's head, the dreamy lion's big mouth, will make you feel pain, but it is not unacceptable, a just right position. This time, I didn't ask for anything, but it made people feel uneasy. If Chin Young knew what this woman was thinking, he would probably roll his eyes. Is this because he was blackmailed out of his feelings? After getting the third rubbing, Chin Young returned to Mysteria without stopping. Give the item to Robin and let her translate and make the roadmap. Sengoku, on the other hand, has recently been busy collecting information on the fourth red stone. And GT, fantastic promises are still very useful. All kinds of information are continuously delivered to Sengoku's office through the information sales organization cultivated by Doflamingo. These hundreds of pieces of information, after Sengoku's screening, finally picked out 10 more valuable pieces and handed them over to Chin Young. In a quiet study room, Chin Young sat here as accelerator. He flipped through the information submitted by Sengoku and read them one by one. There is one more thing that I should tell you, Sengoku said. The new Marshal of Marine, the dust has settled. Huh? Chin Young raised his eyebrows. Who is it? Akainu. Sengoku didn't seem to calm down and recounted calmly. Kizaru voluntarily quit. Fujitora-s qualifications are too low. Only Akainu can be competent, so after a brief assessment, the government appointed Marine's new marshal as Akainu. Really? As expected. Chin Young nodded and ignored it. However, Sengoku smiled bitterly and said, his style is different from mine. On the first day he took office, the first thing he did was. Speaking of which, Sengoku sighed and said, he has issued a bounty to all the members of Dream. After speaking, he handed out a stack of Marine wanted notices. Chin Young put down the intelligence materials, reached out to accept the wanted order, and slowly looked at it. Emperor Chin, Captain Dream, the strongest man in the world, with a bounty 3 billion Baileys. Aizen, the vice captain of the Dream, the Super 4 Emperor-level powerhouse, the bounty 2.5 billion Bailey. Accelerator, the Dream Messenger, can reflect all attacks, bounty 1.899 billion Bailey. Sea Dragon, the ruler of the ocean, the body is a dragon whose size can be freely changed, the bounty 1.8 billion Bailey. Archangel, master of the sky, Seraph, with unrivaled power of holy light, bounty 1.77 billion Bailey. The Lich King, lord of the earth, controls frost, deprives soul, extremely dangerous, bounty 1.75 billion Bailey. The Great Demon King of Fear, the ruler of the abyss, the demon from the abyss, who wants to destroy the world, offers a bounty 1.7 billion Bailey. Nine-tailed Demon Fox, Dream Cadre 1.322 billion. Night King, Dream Cadre 1.15 billion. Shadow Demon, Dream Messenger 1 billion. Azir 880 million. Uchiha Itachi 740 million. Ibaraki Doji 500 million. Total of 12 bounties, including most of the Dream members. It can be said that with only 12 people, the bounty amount has exceeded 20 billion. This is an extremely terrifying fact. 12 people, 20 billion. This is still a part of the members who have already appeared and clearly demonstrated their strength. In addition, the remaining 6 of the 10 masters are all fans. Akainu is really interesting, posting a bounty at a time like this, just to make a point. Chin Young flicked it gently, and suddenly, the stack of wanted orders flew out and stuck to the wall of the study. Seeing this, Sengoku said wearily, I'm afraid it's the government's intention, and they're still afraid that Marine is out of their control. That's why Akainu has to issue a warrant for all of you. Watch the words, Sengoku, it's not you, it's us. And it's not all. Chin Young said sarcastically, a mere 12 people can be counted as a fantastic whole. Summon Gilgamesh. Boom. As soon as the voice fell, a burst of golden light flashed, filling the entire room. Sengoku was stunned for a moment. He saw in a daze that a man in glowing armor was slowly appearing in the study. He is no stranger to this person. 9 years ago, at the Sabayati Archipelago Station, this person appeared. His name was Hero King Gilgamesh. You're a dreamer too. Sengoku murmured in shock. HMPH, this king will join later, can't you? Gilgamesh snorted coldly and said, a mere 12 people can be considered a dreamy whole. What you see is just a grain of sand in the desert. What are the 10 masters? The masters of the 4 emperors. I will wait for them. How much? How much? Pause. He grinned again. 20 billion. Not enough, just add 0. Chapter-380 _ this person is related to me. 831,928 inches 50,000 reward from the boss tilde close black lens bracket. Dream 12 people were rewarded, and the total reward exceeded 20 billion. These wanted orders have spread to the entire Great Route in a short period of time. At this moment, in mysterious study, Sengoku stared blankly at Gilgamesh and couldn't help taking a deep breath. He had no idea that the King of Heroes back then was actually a member of Dream. Thinking of this, he suddenly smiled bitterly. You know how many members do we have? Who knows, even I don't know. Accelerator snorted. You are not the core yet, so you have no access to core secrets. However, I can tell you one thing for now. I am waiting for dreams, all over the heavens and the world, in the members of this world are only a small part. Quote. All heavens and tens of worlds tilde. Sengoku's expression froze. In detail, you are not qualified to know. You only need to understand that in unknown places, there are countless worlds like this one. And I am waiting for the existence of shuttle in various worlds. Accelerator grinned. Work hard, maybe one day, you will become a cadre, and then you will have a little chance to get in touch with secrets. After all, isn't the purpose of your joining is to see everything in your dreams? Be happy. In this regard, Sengoku was not happy at all. The more he knew about Dream, the more terrifying he felt about this organization. Now that I heard that it spanned the heavens and the world, I was already extremely desperate. The only thing to be happy about is that this group of people didn't have the terrible idea of destroying the world. You go down first. Accelerator waved his hand and said. Hearing this, Sengoku opened his mouth and finally turned to leave. As soon as he left, Gilgamesh walked to the desk and said softly, I'll start. I have basically collected everything. The omniscient and omnipotent star can perfectly deduce the location of the 4th red stone. The so-called things refer to the 3-point red stone rubbing, and 10 relatively reliable information about the 4th red stone. Gilgamesh stared at the items on the table, and with a thought, he immediately unfolded the omniscient and almighty star. This noble phantasm can deduce the future, and see the evolution of the future from countless clues. The future is not fixed, and the future is infinite, but on a limited basis, Gilgamesh can still spy out the information he wants to know. Suddenly, the light and shadow changed, and Gilgamesh saw the World Conference. In a huge conference room, the Gorosei 5 elders sit high, and below are the member states of more than 500 people, all of whom are discussing the content of the Dream Crusade. As soon as the screen changed, the World Conference collapsed, the building collapsed, and it turned into a battlefield. Countless soldiers and pirates were fighting. In the battlefield, an ancient mammoth was like a chariot, pushing everything horizontally. Magma rained from the sky, the ground shattered, the sky turned upside down, and a pitch-black monster emerged from the depths of the earth, roaring and devouring the soul. V. The sound of the giant cannon resounded, and the big explosion continued to sound. In a short period of time, the venue for the World Conference turned into a sea of fire. Countless corpses are supported horizontally, there are marines, there are pirates, and there is also a king of a country. Suddenly, the picture changed again. This time, Gilgamesh saw a red stone. He was quietly placed in a dark space, and there was no breath around him. And here, the future that Gilgamesh saw was interrupted. Confirmed. The fourth Scarlet Stone is indeed in the hands of the government. I am afraid that it will be revealed when it is hidden. Hearing this, Accelerator nodded. Then there is no problem, everything is going according to plan. Huh. Suddenly, he was startled, someone is calling for help. While muttering softly, a white light flashed in the study, and the white light was projected out, taking the appearance of Emperor Qin. Illusions come. A thought arose in Qin Yang, and suddenly, an avatar traveled through the endless space and descended directly into the past. Trafalgar Law was hiding behind a wall of ruins, covered in blood and wounds. A few hours ago, the Heart Pirates landed on this island and suddenly encountered Marine's siege. It's nothing in itself, but after they repelled Marine, a terrifyingly strong person suddenly appeared. They all joined forces and were easily suppressed. At this moment, he was the only one who escaped using the power of the fruit. Emperor Qin, he shouted frantically in his heart. Damn, it's totally unreliable. I've been calling for a long time, but there is no response. Could it be that that person is not Emperor Qin? Luo's heart was extremely nervous. If it was not necessary, he really didn't want to ask that person for help, but now, all his crew members were caught, and as the captain, he had to save people no matter what. But relying on his own strength, it will not work, he can only pray for the appearance of Emperor Qin. Just as I was thinking, the sound of footsteps came. This is a ruin, and the comers stomped on the debris and made a noise. Don't hide, Trafalgar Law, your resistance is pointless. In front of my acceleration, you're as still as a snail. I know you're hiding behind that wall, I'll walk over now, you just stay obediently. Kakaka. The sound of the rubble being crushed became clearer and closer. Luo's heart beat a little faster involuntarily, he held his breath and didn't dare to move at will. Damn, who the hell is this guy? Luo roared wildly in his heart, and when he saw that the distance was less than 5 meters, he finally couldn't hold back. With the right hand, the 5 fingers are opened, and the next moment, a strange space is opened in an instant. Room. However, at this moment, the same strange space spread out faster than him. The flow rate of the world seems to have dropped. Luo still keeps his fingers open, his mouth is still open in Vivi, and the syllable room is halfway through. The next moment, a figure smashed the wall and appeared behind Luo. The same move, do you want to use it a second time? I was unprepared when you escaped before. The man looked indifferent, reached out and grabbed Luo's neck. In front of my acceleration space, your surgery space is not worth mentioning. It's over, little pirate. His right hand stretched out and grabbed Luo's neck. Once caught by him, Luo could no longer escape under his power. However, when this hand was about to touch Luo, another strange big hand stretched out from the void and directly pinched his wrist. What? The man's expression changed drastically, his eyes widened, showing an incredible expression. This person is related to me. Qin Yang squeezed the opponent's wrist, and his figure gradually appeared. He looked at the man calmly and said, but, who are you? Qin Emperor. The man looked horrified, and with a click, he directly dislocated his wrist, and in an instant, he opened a distance of hundreds of meters. It seems that the distance of 100 meters can give him a sense of security. Not bad speed, far exceeding the speed of sound. Is it the one who has the ability to accelerate fruit? Qin Yang raised his eyebrows, and the next moment, he snapped his fingers. Boom. Accelerates the fragmentation of the space, and Luo's state is restored. You really are Emperor Qin. His heart shook again and again.